I'm back, guys. I'm back.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back.
Yeah, I got 2 YouTube live streams going. Why wouldn't I? Might as well blow it all over my face. It live on YouTube. Duh.
Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
What's up? What's up, everybody? I asked Chad earlier, what's the over-under on P. Diddy and Justin Bieber being together? What do you think? What do you think, Chad? The timer went off a little bit early tonight. Must have got started quicker than I anticipated. Let's get it.
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Let's swap this camera around. Let's do this to go live on the vertical video. Welcome, everybody. I'm Will Bird, and this is the Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. We do have 2 different live streams on YouTube. If you want to watch on your phone straight up and down, I guess that's something you can do. I'm not sure that it's like, I don't know if it's better. So the reason I do it is because when, you know, YouTube Shorts, they're just like TikTok videos. When you scroll through that, it suggests live videos while you're scrolling through Shorts. So a lot of people have been getting a lot of traction from it. I usually do the video to where unlist the replay after it's live, and it still gets a few hundred views. So at least I know people are scrolling through it, if nothing else. So thank you guys for joining us. I would suggest that, like, if you're like a longtime viewer, just watch the regular one. I mean, turn your phone sideways. I'm trying to capture new viewers with that and hopefully get some interest in it. Yesterday I didn't get to go live. We went to a local theme park, the one that's owned by Dolly Parton. It is local to me, I guess, but it is Dollywood. It used to be a Silver Dollar City. If you've ever heard of like the Branson, Missouri Silver Dollar City or whatever, that's what it used to be. Dolly Parton bought it because it's in her hometown of Sevierville, Tennessee. And it's all right park. It's got like a couple different segments in it. It's got new stuff since I've been there. I haven't been there since I actually took my parents and my family on vacation one time a few years back. So it's got new stuff there, new roller coasters, new rides, whole new sections actually. It's a pretty cool park. It actually has, I was showing Liam because for some reason he got it in his head. He got it in his head that every different, like they have like part that's like a fair, and like for kiddie stuff and get fair games. And they have a part that's like in the 50s, right? It's got like a diner and race cars and stuff like that, hot rods. Then they have a part that's like all about logging. So it's got like, these rides themed around, like roller coasters themed around like logging and like a log flume, but it's called Daredevil Falls, stuff like that. So each little section has its own theme. And for some reason, Liam thought that each theme of the park, I'd say there's probably like 5 or 6, were all based on Dolly Parton songs. I don't know who told him that, but I was like, no, I think it was kind of themed. It had different themes even when it's Silver Dollar City, even though most of it was like old Wild West. It still had some different themes for different parts of the park, and they just kind of expanded on that. But one cool thing that is there is a supposedly realistic recreation of Dollywood's or of Dolly Parton's childhood home in Sevierville. It is a small, like 1-bedroom home, no plumbing, no lights. It's got lanterns in it. It's right in the middle of the park. Technically, it has lights because they don't have burning lanterns in there. It'd be a fire hazard. But it's like lights in a lantern, so you know there's no electricity, no power there, no indoor plumbing, no nothing. It's got like our 1-bedroom house, the loft that the kids stayed in. It's pretty cool. I thought that part was interesting, even when I was a kid. I remember on field trips they always made us walk through that little part to see how she lived. I don't know if they're trying to make us feel better about our situation or worse. I grew up poor, so I was like, damn. She's got a loft. They got one bed per each person in their family. What is going on here? We're living with the Joneses. Yeah, it's a neat park if you've never been there. It's getting expensive. Well, I guess everything's getting expensive. It's like $100 a ticket. If you don't get any discounts or nothing, it's like $100 a ticket to get in for an adult ticket. But Mariah's mom actually bought me, Mariah, and our kids, plus Mariah's sister and her family. They bought us season passes. So a season pass, a silver, the lower silver season pass, it's blacked out through February, and then it's blacked out. The lower tier one is blacked out like when most of the Christmas lights are up, because they do like a Christmas thing during December. A season pass is $166. So if you're going to spend $98 for one day, if you live anywhere close, you might as well get a season pass and go twice and save, $33 or what, $32. You would think. Either way, we got season passes, so we didn't have to pay for that. I did pick up some tickets for some other people.
Small dick, but wait till it get hard. She gonna be like, damn, shit, my God.
Thank you for the great content on the regular. Thank you very much. Cindy Somerville bought you a six-pack. I appreciate it. If you want to support the show, you can do that at coldbeer.fund. That's this website. It's got all the links to donate on the left-hand side, all the links to follow me at the top. I'm on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, Facebook, TikTok, Rumble, Discord, and Bovada. And Bovada is an affiliate link. And then all these links on the left-hand side, or if you're on your phone, in the middle.
Just resubscribed for 17 months.
Or if you're on your phone, they're in the middle. You can use all these links to donate. The most popular links are Buy Me a Coffee, where you can type something in. I'll read it, like that one that just popped up that said thank you for the content reporting, or on the regular. And then this anonymous donate button down at the bottom. Use whatever you want if you want it. There you go. Your comments on Twitch are not posting. Well, I just saw it. Oh, that's on YouTube. It's pausing again on Twitch. I don't know. It looks great on my end from Twitch. It says I have an excellent connection and excellent playthrough, so I'm not sure. Oh, you probably need to lower your frame rate, maybe. I don't know. And you have to be a follower to post on Twitch. Are you a follower? You have to be a follower to comment. Anyways, Dollywood's pretty cool if you get a chance to go. We did buy some extra tickets for some family members, but we were able to get those through my friend has a discount, so we was actually able to get them for $50 a piece, like half off. That's pretty good. I think it's actually come out. A full price ticket is $98, and we got them for $51. So we just had to buy 2 or 3 tickets. It wasn't bad. This was all for, if you're wondering why so many people went, like my family, my sister's family, aunts, uncles, my nephew. Everybody went because Oliver wanted to go to Dollywood for his birthday. And Mariah told him yes, because we have season passes. But Oliver's birthday is up in February, and that's during the blackout dates. During the blackout dates, only people with gold passes are allowed to go if it's not during their maintenance time, which I think the last part of January, first part of February is they shut it down and they call it a jamboree. But they bring in all their maintenance guys and the whole park shut down. That's after. And then in the winter, if you have a gold pass or if you want to get a discounted ticket, they have the whole park they fill with Christmas lights, which is, if you're into that, that's pretty cool. My mom liked that a lot. They also have live music and theater shows and stuff, like even if you're not into roller coasters and shit like that. It's a nice park. Go check it out sometime if you get by there, especially if you don't pay full price for tickets. You can get cheaper tickets. I don't know if it's worth $100 a person if you don't ride rides or nothing like that, but if you can get cheaper tickets, have at it. The bird curse. I told you guys I'd tell you a story about the bird curse. When my dad was alive, he told me if I was going to have the last name, I was going to have to deal with the curse. And just crazy shit happens. Like if you ever heard one of my McDonald's stories, or there's just a bunch of different ones. Ever since I was a kid, there's a bird curse. So Mariah convinces me to go on a ride. Actually, I'll get a video of it. I'll show you what the ride is. It's called the River Rampage. Even though it was still early in the day, and the water was fucking freezing. Mariah convinces me to go on the River Rampage. It is a raft ride where basically you go through like these. It's a ride, but it's like being on a river, right? It's like being on a raft in the river. Now, I told everybody when we went on the ride, and they were worried about getting wet or getting soaked in water, or getting their shoes wet. I told everybody, don't worry. It's the bird curse. Everybody will be dry but me. Just don't sit near me and we'll be fine. And everybody laughed it off. But we get on the ride. We get on the ride and start riding it. And immediately it like cranks you up to like a drop off. So we get on the very first part of it. We get cranked up. We're getting ready to drop off. Right there is the drop off. You can see it on the screen right now. So we get cranked up. We get dropped off. Of course, I'm facing backwards. So I go down backwards and right off the bat, the water comes up over the back of my seat, drowns me, right? I'm already drowned right there. Every rapid we hit somehow hit on my side of the boat. Every rapid we went through, every rapid that was there, even stuff that wasn't supposed to be rapids. We just hit the wall really hard, my side of the boat, over and over and over and over again. I just got drowned. They were all laughing, thinks it's hilarious. That's not even the worst part. So after all that's done, I'm froze to death.
Susanio17 Abnig just resubscribed for 2 months.
Thank you. After all that, I'm froze to death. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning when we got on this ride, and the water's still cold. It didn't even get that hot that day. After all this goes through, we are getting all to the back, and they're all laughing at me because I'm soaking wet. And everybody else just got like a little splash in their seat, so their butts got wet. And my sister-in-law's boyfriend was on the ride, and he goes, I don't know about this. My butt got wet. That sucks. So I took off my shoe to show them how drenched I got. Like I took off my shoe, picked it up, and dumped the water out of my shoe. And of course, everybody laughed. I was like, I told you it's a bird curse. It doesn't matter what happens. It always happens to me. Now, after I dumped the water out of my shoe, Oliver and Liam and Mariah were all laughing. And my David was laughing. I put my shoe back down on the ground to put it on. And Oliver gets to laughing so hard, he gets strangled, starts coughing, and pukes into my shoe. So not only did I get a few 1,000 gallons of water dumped on me, but as the ride's ending, I put my shoe back on the ground to put it on. Oliver pukes in my shoe. He pukes in my shoe. Couldn't have planned it any better. Why would my shoe be off? Well, because I was showing them how soaked I was. Why would Oliver puke? Who the fuck knows? Who the fuck knows? Just one of those things where the world hates me and this is what happens. Welcome to my world. Oliver pukes in my shoe, so I have to unbuckle from these like lap belts or whatever and rinse my shoe off in the water so I can put it back on my foot. So sorry if you went to Dollywood yesterday and you felt like you saw some turkey chunks in the water on the River Rhine page. That was probably from my shoe. Nope, I was wearing tennis shoes. I was actually wearing the cheap shoes that I wore from, because I knew I was going to be walking a lot and pulling a fucking wagon. I actually wore the cheap shoes that I was bought off TikTok or whatever. But yeah, in my tennis shoes, had on socks, of course. The boys wore Crocs. They wore Crocs with socks so they didn't get blisters. But they took their socks off before they got on the water rides and just wore the Crocs and then put them back on afterwards. So there you go. There is the bird curse. And that kind of fits tonight's title with the talking about the boats. So moving on. Thank you guys for joining us. Like I said, I'm Will Bird. If you want to support the show, go to coldbird.fund. We are 100% funded by viewers right now. Occasionally I'll take a sponsorship or something, but usually it's either my affiliate links or donations or Patreon or something like that. Yeah, I had to pull a wagon around. Oliver doesn't like to walk a lot, and I begged them. He gets tired, easy. And I begged them, just leave the wagon. Oliver can walk to what he wants to. He can take a break when he wants to. And if he doesn't want to walk so far to ride something, he doesn't have to, right? He can just say, no, I'll just stay right here, or I'll go over there, or I'll go somewhere closer. Nope. Mariah brought a monster of a wagon, the biggest child wagon I've ever seen in my life. It's twice as big as the one that my niece is in, or yeah, my sister-in-law's kid is in. Twice as big as that, and puts Oliver in it and all of the shit she brought into the gate that I told her to leave in the car. So it was about 200 pounds of wagon that I pulled about 10 and a half miles around the park all day. And of course, the park's built on the side of a hill, so that was my punishment for trying to take a day off. There you go. Now we know, guys. Now we know. You won't fool me again. Anyways, it was rough. It was really rough. All the big rides. So, like, the only part that's level is the gates and the kiddie rides, right? You can go in, go to the right. That's all level. But if you've ever been to Dollywood, all the roller coasters, all the bigger rides, everything else is uphill. Everything else is up at the top of the hill. It's pretty steep. The downhill wasn't bad, but the uphill was nothing to fuck with. It kind of sucked. So, anyways, support the show. We'll get through this, I guess. Somebody commented earlier on my last Facebook video, which was actually from 2 days ago. And I had a response, but I wanted to read it to you guys. Maybe you guys feel the same way. I don't know. Let's see. Mute the show there and turn on newest comments. Let's see if we can get them. So, here you go. Lynn McMullen says, so disgusting to hear you root for Phil. I guess this is during the segment about the court stuff where I said, fuck, Phil, Nick's going to lose, and I hope they destroy each other. I hope they both lose, I guess. Anyways, it said, so disgusting to hear you root for Phil. What exactly did Nick do that's any different from what you've been doing for years just because you hate Nick? So what has Nick done that's different from what I do? And I said, Lynn McMullen, like, defend a pedo, then suddenly attack them only once that person costs them money. Call completely innocent people who ask him questions a pedo only because his answers make him look guilty as fuck. Flip-flop and attack Pebbles, the one with a valid lawsuit going after Phil, to spread absolute BS as truth on his website, to claim that 15-year-olds look good nowadays and sexualize them in a way that should make everyone uncomfortable. Those are just a few of a long list that Nick Alvear has done that I haven't. You're right. Thanks for all the support. Now, she responds with this. That doesn't even make sense. What an argument. What an argument. What an argument. That doesn't make sense. She really backed me into a corner. He did his research. No, he used my research and other people's research that have been doing this for years. But she says he did his research and found shit out, probably after everyone told him Phil was bad news. Actually, not true. We have Nick himself admitting that he knew all this stuff ahead of time and was defending Phil as a 25-year-old who fell in love with a 15-year-old. A 25-year-old who fell in love with a 15. I don't see him pedoing at the moment. There's a lot of flexibility here. I don't call Phil a pedo because he's not. That's Nick's own statement. Until he lost money. It says, still makes no sense now that you're involved with this and pulling the same side of the rope with Phil. He is loving this. He thinks you're his BFF. Sickening. I said, well, Lynn, I documented everything, start to finish. You just don't want to believe it, and that's fine. I can't control what anyone else does, you or Phil or Nick. I just show what they did and said, and even had Nick admitting he had seen the texts, he had seen the cases, he had seen the evidence, and Phil was just a 25-year-old who fell in love with a 15-year-old. And it was no big deal. His own words. Once he started causing people to unsub from Good Lion, that's when I decided this is it. I have no choice. I have to make a movie now. That's a quote from Nick. That's a quote from Nick. That's to save his money. Now, she didn't reply back. I'm hoping she replies back with something solid like, that doesn't make sense. Nick is probably, in my opinion, Nick is 1,000% going to lose this case. Today on a live stream, Nick said, Phil used to get like 10 rollovers a month on his 401k stuff. Now he gets 0 because of our movie. That's literally admitting to damages from the slander you put out. That's literally admitting to damages for the slander you put out. Isn't R. Kelly doing 30 years for the same thing Phil did? I don't know. What is oh yeah, for the same age range. R. Kelly. Have you ever heard R. Kelly's song about get your passport, girl, get your shots? You're gonna hop on a jet with me, and I'm gonna take you to America. Have you all heard that? That song is like the sex trafficker anthem, and it's his song. Hold on, R. Kelly. Do you have your passport? I think's the name of the song. Hold on. It's like the anthem. Listen to this.
I got it. Do you have your passport? Did you get your shots? Girl, would you like to come back with Rob to America?
Do you have your passport? Did you get your shots? Girl, would you like to come back with Rob, R. Kelly, to America?
Wait till it get hard. She gonna be like, damn, shit, my God.
You with that wig had me dead. Thanks for the laugh. I'm joining the camper life too. Bought one yesterday. Uh-oh. You got you a camper? I'll read the rest of it right now. Hold on. You got a camper? Sweet. Mariah said, Mariah and the kids love ours. Bought one yesterday because the rent prices are disrespectful. They're pretty bad, aren't they? The prices are shooting through the roof for everything. The only solace I have right now is in my area, a lot of prices are coming back down. A lot of prices are coming back down. And the only reason I know this is there was a house that me and Mariah looked at right as we lost our old house, and it was for $186. It was for $186 was the price of the house. I didn't think it was even worth that. Needed quite a bit of work. When we looked at it, it was $186, and then like 2 days later when we were talking about it again, it went up to $240. Literally went up $60,000 to $240. Okay? And it kept going up until it was $285. It went over $100,000 higher over the COVID thing. And I guess it never sold because just yesterday I got a Trulia or whatever app that we were using back in the day, years ago, that we were using back in the day that like sends you alerts when houses are listed. And I happened to see an address I recognized in the email, and I clicked on it, and it's back down to $184. So maybe shit will come back down to normal. But a lot of professionals say in highly populated areas, this is the new normal. It's not coming back. You just got to get used to it. All right, anyways, back to the R. Kelly song. Hope you enjoy your camper. We enjoy ours.
To America. America. Do you have your passport? Did you get your shots? Girl, would you like to come back with?
Where is he singing this at? He's in Ethiopia. He's in Ethiopia. I told him about the River Rampage and then Oliver puking in my shoe.
Rob to America, America.
Oh, and the giant wagon you brought and made me drag for 10.5 miles yesterday.
Do you have your passport? Did you get your shots? Who wants to come back with us to America?
This is the sex trafficker anthem, guys. This is it. Do you have your passport? Did you get your shots? You want to come back with me to America? And we know the type of females he was into. Mariah liked cutting down on the amount of stuff we had. She thought it was, she thought we couldn't do without all this extra shit, and then we don't have it, and we're like, fuck it, it's in storage. And a lot of stuff we put in storage, and we're like, oh man, I'm gonna have to go get that like once a month. That we don't even fucking get it, right? We get used to it. We got used to it, and so we cut down on a lot of stuff. The financial stress is not nearly as bad. It's a lot more affordable. We own it, so if we want to move it somewhere else, we move it somewhere else. We like it. We enjoy it. Mariah, do you have a picture of that fucking monster ass wagon you made me drag around? Compared to the other wagon, hold on, I'm gonna go look. Compared to it was 3 times at least bigger than the other wagon. At least 3 times as big as the other wagon, minimum. Let me see. There's a bunch of pictures here. Let me see what we got. I was actually planning on going live, but I guess where there's so many people at the park, it just like I could not get a stable connection. I tried to go live a few times and could not get a stable connection. I would have to connect to the Wi-Fi, but then every 5 steps, the Wi-Fi would, change to a different Wi-Fi or whatever because the different buildings are what there or whatever. And then it was just bad. It was bad. Let me see. Somebody tagged me in it. It's at least 3 times as big as like a normal kid. I don't know why it was so big. It even had this giant ass handle. It was bad. For real. Okay, here's a normal size wagon, right? It was at least 3 times as big as this one. At least. It was huge. I've never seen a wagon for kids that big. I could sit in it with my back straight up against the back and my feet would be in it. It was huge. This is the wagon like we normally take. We got a red one like this. But that's the purple one. I wonder if I don't think she got a picture of the green one. Here's another picture of the wagon. This is Mariah's niece. There you go. There's another picture of the wagon. It was at least 3 times as big as this one. Guaranteed. This one would fit all the way in it. And you could probably fit another one in there and have space left over. Because you can't fit 3 because of the proportions, but it's at least 3 times as big. I wish somebody had a picture of that big-ass wagon. But I don't think anybody took a picture of it, did they? Nope. Did you take any pictures, Mariah? Did you take pictures of the big wagon? It's huge. Hold on. I wonder where it's from. It was green and black, and it was fucking huge compared to that one. Like, I couldn't believe it. And then nobody get out of the way, and I was very polite, trying to get people out of the way. You know me. I don't do confrontation. I'm like, excuse me, sir, ma'am, sir, ma'am, could you please move? And then Mariah come in there cussing people out. You know, the Q-tards always like to scream that I'm not about saving the kids. Me and Mariah saved 3 kids yesterday. We were actively involved in 3 missing children yesterday. I don't know what's going on or if people just don't pay attention to their kids anymore. But yeah, it was insane. 3 different kids. So one of them, we're just walking down through there, and this kid that's like Sikh, you know, like the head wrap, like Sikh, a little bitty kid, maybe, I don't know what, Mariah, 4 or 5, just walks past me and is kind of like out of place, like passes me, and I was walking pretty good. And they're like looking back and forth. So Mariah was like, hey, what's up? And I was like, do you know where your parents are? And they're like, the kid said, I'm looking for them right now. And I'm like, stay here with us. What are your parents' names? What do they look like? And as soon as we started looking, some guy comes running up to us. And he's like, oh, it's my kid. Sorry. Just started walking. And I'm like, what? What? Then another time, there was legit a lost kid. Like, Mariah saw the mom like looking around frantically, and she's like, what are you looking for? And she's like, my kid. And Mariah's like, what does she look like? What's her name? And she gives us her name and shows us her son. And she's like, she has the same jacket on as my son, except it's a floral pattern. Her name's whatever her name was. So again, we spread out, and this girl legit was terrified she was lost. Her dad ended up finding her, but he came running back with her to the mom, and she was bawling her fucking eyes out. And I bet you her mom hugged her for probably 30 minutes and wouldn't let her leave. That kid was lost. What was the third lost kid, Mariah? Didn't we find another kid? Mariah tried to make herself feel special during a medical emergency where some guy passed out. I closed blind myself on a piece of... So, we were at the teacup, a toddler. You're right. It was a toddler. We were at the... It's not called the teacups. It's called the lemon something. It's like a little kid ride. And Mariah and the people that were going to be the kids were in line. And I heard some guy start screaming, help, we need medical, help, help. And I looked, and when I looked over at him, I saw Mariah bend down. And I thought, oh, shit, it's Ollie. Ollie doesn't do well with heat. You know, he's had seizures before and shit. So I was like, oh, shit, Mariah bent over, it's Ollie. So I jumped over a railing shoved some people out of the way, jumped the other railing. Like I jumped inside the ride to get past people that were crowded out there. Like inside the ride railing, sprinted a little bit, jumped outside the ride railing, went around the building, and then there's like a line, and then all these poles that go. It's not like at the movies where they have the retractable strap. These are like metal pops that separate the lines. So I went over one pop and barely made it. Like I hooked my foot. So I went under the next pop because I was trying to go all the way to the back and get over to the corner. I went under the next pop, and the third pop wasn't there. Instead, they had a chain that they could remove, right? A chain that you could remove. And the chain looked like it had some slack in it. It didn't. So I decided to go under this chain. And when I went down low to like step underneath it, I pushed it up for what I thought was going to go above my head. It didn't. It hit me right here. I was moving as fast as I possibly could. It hit me right here and laid me out. Like even though I was squatted, it laid my feet out, threw me straight down on my back. So I did some type of roll. I started rolling just to get to where I could see that it wasn't. Once I could see it was an ollie. It was an ollie. Then I was like, oh shit. No one called for medical for me. Not a single person. No one said, hey, help. No nurses came running. Nobody had a fucking stethoscope. No one did shit. I just laid there, rolled. I rolled 3 times to the left to make sure I could see Ollie was still standing and Liam was still standing. And then I just laid there. Then I finally got up and asked Mariah what was going on. It was some like 40-year-old man just fell out. It was wild. Anyways, keep an eye on your kids. That'd be good. That'd be great. I'm going to have to get a picture of that fucking wagon beside our regular wagon so I can show everybody the monster wagon. That son of a bitch is huge. I felt like a Clydesdale. I felt like a team of mules, a workhorse, waiting for somebody to give me some oats and brush me down. It was bad. It was bad. Very bad. Yeah, but I need it compared to the other wagon, or it's just going to look like a wagon, or with a kid in it or something so people can see how fucking big it's huge. Like, everybody knows the regular, like, size kids wagon. This is not it, dude. This is so much bigger. It even has, like, instead of having, like, the narrow, like, wagon wheels that are, like, narrow and tall, it has these wheels that are, like, this wide and, like, this tall. They're huge. God damn, I wish I had a comparison photo. Anyways, I'll get it later. Let's talk about boats. So, first of all, don't forget Nick Alvear did basically tell on himself for financial damages against Phil. He literally said he used to get 10 401k sign-ups a month. Now he gets 0 because of what we've done. This guy is his own worst enemy. His own worst enemy. I don't know what else to say about him. It's like you took somebody and said, I want you to commit slander, and then I want you to do the worst possible fucking job at mounting a defense. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, dude. I don't know what the fuck he's doing out there. It's intense. But that was it. I think they probably talked about me again. I'm not sure. Somebody said they did and gave me a timestamp. Before we move on to boats, let's do this right quick. Somebody sent me this in an email, and I'm kind of curious about it now that I've seen it. This was from, let's see, Judith. And the title just says, 107 confronted about portraying himself as JFK Jr. Denies it. The Ultra Trump the Destroyer video is no longer around. However, a third-party channel has it. So let me copy this link, and I'll put it over here, and we'll check it out. It's on BitChute, I believe. Yes. So apparently someone confronted 107 about
$99
claiming that
now
he's
available in the U.S.
Of
this
course,
is an extremely high-tech
JFK Jr.
$5,000 drone. It was
That's a scam ad, by the way.
The original video in full. It's about 43 minutes long.
At least somebody got it. I wonder why Ultra Trump the Destroyer took it down. He's the one. He's supposed to be exposing the truth, right?
You might want to see the
Boats
whole
and
thing.
Bros. That's pretty good.
I used part of it.
I used boats and
to make the previous
Q-Tardos.
video and add some stuff in, but this is the original. I'm mirroring it. I give credit below VA for this matter.
Going out of your way for the Patriots.
Here we go.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Ultra Trump the Destroyer show. First things first, we have to thank Rumble. Thank you very much, Rumble, for going out of your way for the Patriots, and we will never forget it. Thank you very much. I will be doing a thank you video for Rumble after this show, and it'll be out in a few days. And a man who needs no introductions, 107.
Yeah, I mean, like, we should probably do a better job at taking pictures. I'm really bad at it too. But sometimes I just want to have fun, and the kids want to have fun. You know, kids never want to pose for photos.
Hey, folks, how you doing?
How you doing, Juan?
Good, good. Enjoying a little bit of the surf action. I hope it's not too noisy.
He's claimed it multiple times. One time was with Phil McConnell. You know, he was around in the early days of Phil McConnell as a different guy. His name was W, the government insider. W, that's all he went by, was one letter, W. And they exposed who he is in a lawsuit then. Because Phil McConnell was sued by a Canadian member of the press, and they named W 107. They named him in the lawsuit.
For folks in the background, but it's a little cooler out here, and I thought I'd step out and do the show with you on the
Wayne
deck.
Willett Jr.
It's beautiful. My computer's fixed. It was a terrible thing last time, but I know you're busy, so I'll just get to the questions.
No.
All right.
Let's see what they
For
have.
years, you would not confirm or deny if you were JFK Jr. and you knew what you were doing.
Literally, people asked him directly to his face if he was JFK Jr., and he would play it off. He would just play. All you have to do is say no. Why would there be anything but no come out of your mouth? Even if you say, well, I never directly said it. When you won't confirm or deny, that's saying it to vulnerable people.
And you made a lot of money, and because of it, I want to offer you a chance to apologize to the movement, President Trump, and JFK.
Wayne Willett.
What you did was very deceptive and not what a man of God does. Understand, I have with me whistleblower information, and it's absolutely devastating. Do you feel bad about what you did, and are you ready to sincerely apologize to the movement?
Well, I've never, ever...
Here we go. Here we go. I wonder why MAGA or Trump the Destroyer, Ultra MAGA Trump the Destroyer, whatever the fuck his name is. This guy approached me, by the way. He saw me calling out people, and he's like, hey, I just want to bring truth to the movement, blah, blah, blah. I think we could do so well together and all this stupid shit, right? He approached me about doing something, working together. And I never responded because he looked like a fucking crazy Q-tard, right? I never responded. And then he signs up with fucking Derek Johnson. Not a week after it.
Once ever said that I was JFK Jr. And I
didn't say that.
I've also been said to be Admiral Rogers and 24 other groups or people. So having to apologize for something that I've never said or make a big deal about it, I've never gone there. In fact, I have always just...
Yeah, if you're watching the vertical video on YouTube and you'd rather watch the full screen video where you can see everything, it's up as well. Like, I just got the vertical view video so more people will find it, like new people. But obviously, you don't have to be it. Everybody else can watch the full-size video.
For the sake of people around me and the contacts that I do have, try to stay in the background, but then provide some insights as to what's going on. So to put it in terms like I've misstated something, in fact, Robert David Steele and I, hold on. Robert David and Steele and I, numerous times in the introduction, not JFK Jr. Almost, I think, every single show that we did together, not JFK Jr. And numerous other places. So that was not ever, there was people that continued to push that narrative. And certainly there is a history that I don't discuss there that was part of the trolling, trying to force some kind of a discussion. It
was part of the deep state trolling. He wanted to force people to talk about JFK Jr. and his family.
Wasn't appropriate for the time. And so I've never made such a claim, never tried to mislead a single person on that. And I've also stated repeatedly from the very beginning, even the title of my book. In fact, the show that I did with Space Shot 76.
Wait, isn't the title of his book something to do with JFK Jr., like him in that little blue coat? What's the name of his book? I can't remember. Kid by the Side of the Road, and it has like a picture of that famous portrait of JFK Jr. in like the little blue coat, right?
Was entirely focused around that exact point early on. I said we are all the kid by the side of the road. We have all been raised in the shadow.
Oh, it's
of these
all
events.
of us.
To put it all in one family or one person is does an injustice to where America is today and where the world is right now. These things that were done to us, including specific things within three-letter agencies and the involvement of those groups, were done to all of us. We're all in the sights, crosshairs of the people who did a coup against America and the world.
I didn't say anything like that. I said it was very deceptive. You came out with a book, a kid on the side of the road. If you were being honest, right, you wouldn't be showing me your shoes. You'd be showing your face.
No, that's not true. Let me say this.
You wear a ring on your finger. We know what you did. What the whole movement knows. I'm asking you to man up and apologize for being deceptive, because that's exactly what happened.
Get him.
I'm not maybe saying it. You had almost 1 million people believing you were JFK Jr. for a very long time, and you knew that, and that's why you show your shoes. Now, if you're not going to apologize, that's fine. I was giving you a chance. I will bring out the whistleblower stuff. It'll be very simple. I was trying to. God gives everyone a chance. I was giving you a chance. You didn't want to apologize for being deceptive. It's very obvious, and the whole movement knows. And give me a break. I mean, let's be real here. Let's be real. Do you want me to bring out the whistleblower stuff, or do you want to apologize? So you can save yourself a lot of time, because I know what I'm talking about, and I was very, you don't please don't underestimate the Patriots. Kid by the side of the road. You insinuated that
he
may
is.
or may not be him.
107
by saying nothing, by omission.
With his
And by
face
the time
mask
you said
on.
something, you already made a ton of money, because you know that people thought you may or may not have been him. And if you were ready to stop that, you wouldn't be showing me your shoes. When I made a flyer for you on a previous show, you didn't know I made it. You said, "Oh, could you put my pinky ring?" I mean, come on. I'm just asking you to man up for the sake of the Patriots and the movement, because you know that many people believe that you were JFK Jr. You know that. I'm asking you.
Let me ask you a question. Did you see any of the over a year and a half ago? I did the public appearance at the Patriot thing out in Vegas. I appeared in person. I signed over 500 books there. I've appeared numerous times in person at various locations, over and over, and behind the scenes. There's numerous people. Again, if you don't like that Robert David Steele, and I did numerous shows and pointed that out, or if people think that they were deceived, I certainly do apologize to people that would think that something else was there. But I also, again, I should apologize then for not being Admiral Rogers.
I do apologize if people thought that was on them, but I did everything I could do. And I also apologize for being all these other people that people think I am. What a fucking cop-out, dude.
Apologize for not being a number of other people. And again, my background was not conducive to doing that. I don't put my face all over the place, in part because I haven't made it about me.
His background doesn't have anything to do with it. He was an investigator for insurance companies. Basically, if you claimed to the insurance company that you couldn't walk, he would sit outside your house and wait for you to mow the yard, and then they would deny your insurance claim. Like, that's it.
The information, the stuff that we're doing,
just temporary disability, stuff like that.
Community, being another talking head, and then making it me, is not true. And as far as making a bunch of money at the expense of Patriots, that is absolutely not me. I've never charged for an appearance. That I have my books out there or other stuff, certainly to assist the movement. But that's not making a living off the backs of Patriots. I guarantee I put way more out into the community than I've ever taken in from any of those activities or the sales of books. I think that would be wrong. It's a slight against anybody else out there doing it. I certainly myself, with all of the activity that I do, I'm not doing it to make a living as a patriot.
So are you,
as a patriot,
you're not going to fully apologize for the?
Have you? What about all the lies you told about taking fucking jam to President Trump and shit?
Deceptiveness of what you did.
Do you think that what I did was deceptive?
Oh,
I've been very clear. What part? Hold on a second. Hold on.
Of course.
What part of? Hold on. I'm having an honest conversation with you.
Okay.
What part of choosing to try?
What about the time he had a blowout and he said that Obama shot a drone at him?
To remain somewhat anonymous, to have a discussion that doesn't make it about me, is being, I've never said that I was somebody that I wasn't. I've chosen to stay in the background. You probably don't realize it, but I've been in the background for over 30 years with other hosts and broadcasts, helping them out, never did any appearances. The only reason that I even did anything in person and not just staying behind the scenes with the hosts was because of misstatements on the part of hosts, misstating some of the stuff that was being said about Benghazi. And to correct that so that it wasn't stated incorrectly, because I was the source on a lot of the stuff that was coming out there, and making sure that it wasn't, nobody else could twist it or say it came a different way. But staying in the background on that stuff, and then not choosing, I spent time even this last weekend with a lot of people that are very connected in the political realm.
Sure.
I don't put them on the spot.
He tried to run his own candidates and support those and back those with his money that he made off this movement for secretaries of states, because during COVID time, Secretary of States unilaterally changed a lot of. So this is where you could actually have an argument. We're not going to get into specifics. You could actually have an argument about impropriety in the November contest, right? because some secretaries of states unilaterally changed election law when the Congress wasn't in session because of COVID. Those are things that you could address. So he tried to put his own secretaries of state into different states.
By having pictures taken together, that then they have to own some place. You know, there's stuff that even in the last few days. Putting in the country as far as the situation on the commander-in-chief position versus president. There's people that are embarrassed or would be embarrassed if it was known that we communicate on a regular basis on a lot of these details, because there is, yes, a certain understanding of who 107 is, what he's talking about, some of the things that are extremely edgy. And they want to know that information. They want to think about it, but they're not fully going there.
Why even the name? 107. Why even the name, dude?
Yet, as time goes on, I think that the position on a lot of the sketchy stuff that's been said is becoming firmer and firmer.
He's never even worked in the government or had a clearance, and he claims that he was some type of secret agent, Agent W.
Do I want them to have to carry that baggage, or do I want to have to keep my distance from them to where they can't have an honest conversation, or do I want to give them room so that we can continue to be in contact, talking as things continue to develop, and at least provide an alternative view to what's going on in the world as we proceed forward? And I think it's much.
Yeah, I understand exactly what his name means. If he's not grifting, if he's not being elusive, if he's not being crazy, why doesn't he just come out as Wayne? Like, I'm not asking you to explain what the Q-tards think about his name.
Much better to be able to have a honest conversation, including with some of the people that don't want to be outed, if you will, on what their true position is, both inside government as appointees or office holders or elected.
Listen, what you do is deceptive. I've got whistleblower information. You could either sit here with me and look at it, or you can run away, and I could show people anyway.
I haven't run away so far, have I?
No, I'm pretty impressed.
Okay, so I'm trying to have an honest conversation with you, and you're acting. You're saying.
Somebody put, wow, Wano is angry as the description.
I have been deceptive by not.
Divine interloper.
And that's not true.
Oh, you're good. You don't have to apologize. That's just, I was trying to explain what I meant. Like, why not just come out as Wayne or something, or just a regular name? Why be so elusive about your name and your boots, and you can't show your face except you accidentally did because you can't work your own phone?
Are you acknowledging?
Then they claimed that was a double. After he showed his face and then was like, ugh, and switched it back and showed his boots, they claimed that was a double to throw people off.
Hold on. Are you acknowledging that for over 3 years with Robert David Steele and others, that I've been very clear that wasn't RFK Jr.?
There was plenty of time in the beginning when you came around.
Even the entire point. Hold on. The entire point. You call Space on 76. You call Space on 76 and go look at the video that we did. I said we are all the kid by the side of the road.
Yeah,
I said we are not. I was very clear. That's improper to accuse me of not being clear right up front.
I'm saying I feel.
I'm not saying he's never came out and said it. He probably has. But most of the time, he was super slippery, super elusive, disingenuous at best, even saying sometimes no, but leading people to believe yes. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing, and we all know exactly what he's doing.
Personally, it was deceptive.
Then I apologize to you if you believed that I was saying something that I didn't.
That's right, shattered pieces.
Because people believe that you're JFK, and you know that.
I did not.
I did not. And now you're facing, and that is part of the whole thing. Give me a break, dude. All right. So
hold on. That's not that. You're twisting something. If I was clear that I am not John Kennedy Jr., if I was clear about that all the way along, way back in the beginning, the whole reason for doing Kid by the Side of the Road, the entire reason for doing the book was to make sure, and the book followed by 2 years, the radio broadcast. It was like 6 years ago, followed the radio broadcast where I said we're all the kid by the side of the road. We all grew up in the shadow of these events. When the book followed that, how much more clear can I be? So what's whistleblower about saying something that was should I say in every single broadcast and not Robert or John?
Yeah, now you do. Now you do. Maybe
I have said, that is not.
You should. Yeah, anytime it comes up, you should be explicitly clear and be like, I am not, nor have I ever been, and I don't want anybody to believe that I am JFK Jr. I know there's a rumor. If there was a rumor going on about me that I was somebody else, or especially like if it was something like crazy stolen valor or some shit, and I didn't start it, right? Somebody else started it. Every time I spoke, I'd be like, look, there's this thing going on. That is not me. I didn't do that. That type of shit, right?
A proper way to say it. If you want me to be honest, you be honest also. Did I or did I not make it exceedingly clear early on, repeatedly? If somebody else was saying something, what am I supposed to go out on the internet and say that over and over 100,000 times?
You knew what you were doing, Juan.
Wait a second. To say that I knew what I was doing when I made it clear that I'm not John Jr. How much more clear do I have to make that every single time? If the trolls come out and want to say something, do I have to answer every troll?
No, but you know.
Okay, you said no. So
it wasn't his trolls. It was his followers. It was his followers. Still to this day.
What do you want me to do instead? When I started every broadcast with Robert David Steele, not JFK Jr., what more do you want me to do?
There was plenty of time before that where you said nothing.
Before that, I was all.
Oh yeah, Carrie Cassidy.
So clear because I was not saying anything of the sort and never did. When it became
Carrie Cassidy would just straight up say it.
apparent that there was some people saying that, and other people, including Admiral Rogers and others, what did I say? I said we're all the kid by the side of the road. That was the entire point. We all should feel that we were attacked in these attacks. If I'm standing for anybody, it's for all of us within that same vein, and maintaining some level of anonymity.
It almost sounds like he knew somebody was going to call him out, and he couldn't run away. So he almost has this planned out. Like, on this date I said it, and on this date I said it, and in the book I said this. Like, it seems like he had all this planned out for one day, or maybe specifically for this interview. Maybe he knew he was coming to this interview.
Family and other contacts that I have. I don't do stuff invisibly. I have the largest candidates organization in the country. I have people that I'm interacting with daily, and none of them and none of that work. Nobody would accuse me of having to pretend that I'm JFK Jr.
I'm saying that you...
And if you believe it, then you've heard something wrong from somebody else, and I've been very clear.
Dude. All right, we're going to the next part, I guess.
Well, but I'm just trying to be square with you. You want to be square? Let's be square.
Oh, I'm being absolutely square. You made
okay, if you believe that I've misstated something, hold on. Anybody that believes that I've misstated something, I apologize.
Well, it is what it is. You did more than that one.
Anybody believes I've misstated something. So if you're dumb enough to believe this... I didn't, but I apologize because you're dumb.
I mean, apparently, you've got people sending me messages constantly over the last year.
I have never asked anybody to send you a message.
No, not you in particular. I'm saying you have people that follow you that have been sending me whistleblower information. Can I confirm whether it's true? Only you can confirm whether it's true. But I think it needs to be talked about. It's pretty brutal, dude. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm here to protect the Patriots. I feel like, honestly, I don't like how you went about things, and neither does most of the community. A lot of people got hurt. They believed that you were JFK Jr. You knew they believed it. It's the whole reason you haven't shown your face. Let's be real.
That's not real. That's not real at all. And I've been clear about that all along.
Not all along. I
have all along.
Did you see the Q-tards are freaking out that Joe Biden made Easter Transgender Visibility Day or whatever? That's so. It's been, that day was established in 2009. In 2009 as March 31st. It has nothing to do with Biden or Easter. What the fuck?
Stayed in the background.
On your first show ever. You did that? It's not true. So
that's true. I never said I was JFK Jr. I've never.
But you knew that everyone believed it, and you rolled
I did not. I did not. In the first second that I was aware of it, I made it very clear.
You're not aware of that people think you're JFK Jr. Are you going to really say that?
Hold on.
Come on, dude.
At the first moment, since I didn't say it, since I never said it, I shouldn't have to carry the water for something there. When I first became aware of it, and that was years and years ago, Space Shot 76 and I did a show together. And in that show, we talked about the fact we all should consider ourselves as the kid by the side of the road. That is where that came from, and was very clear that I am not John Jr., but we all were affected in the same way. And it just
you just
the attack
happened to
was on
cut
all
out
of us.
there.
We all are in the crosshairs of that moment, that event.
Well, are you ready for the
I
information?
grew up in that generation that was affected by this. A vast part of this audience grew up in that thing, or was affected by it when they were born later. We all grew up in the shadow of these events. What's going on in America right now? The crisis in America is a crisis against spy agencies. Hold on. A crisis in the country.
Movable dates.
You understand? I will mute your mic if you don't let me go over the whistleblower information. I can't confirm it's true, but I can confirm I got it. And people want answers. Over 27 people want answers about this topic. So I think it's important. My job is to protect the Patriots. You have your job. I have my job. You're not the only person that knows people, and there's a movement behind this movement that takes care of the Patriots. Do you understand? So okay. I'm going to go over this information, and I'm going to give you a chance to speak each time, because I'm not trying to be cruel, but I feel like this whole thing, no one's ever confronted you. I don't know if they're scared of you or whatever, but I'm not. I hate to say it. So you're not the only person with contacts and friends that are important either. So let's be real here. So this email is from, I think, someone you know, because it says from info107daily.com. I believe that was your website, and these are your people. It says our news world president at Co. All right. Juan has said multiple times, including a few days ago, that he was still writing a book, and on 1/5/23, that there have been paper shortages at the publisher Gumroad. We called Gumroad, and they told us there had never been a delay due to the availability of paper. The book has not been shipped because Juan has not completed writing or submitting the final version of Gumroad. On December 16th show with Tom Numbers, Juan said that the publisher of Gumroad will begin printing the Storm book in mid-January 2023, and that he expects that he will ship the book to our distribution center by the end of January. The Storm book orders will be shipped immediately once we receive them from the publisher/printer. We paid Juan for all the pre-order books in January of 2022, and we were supposed to have received them so that we could ship them by the end of March 2022. The site where you purchased the book stated no refunds because we paid many tens of thousands of dollars in advance for the books, which were supposed to have been delivered March 2022. At this point, our attorneys had filed fraud and breach of contract charges against Juan, and he's responsible for any refunds due to the breach of contract. Will you please speak on this? You don't have to, but I got a lot more. I mean, so much more.
Okay, so I do have a business partner that I have legal also that we're going to go into some depth with. So what you have there is something from somebody who wants.
Well, I mean, a church is a church. They can do whatever they want. That's part of freedom, right? Like, don't go to that church. Don't support that church. But if they want to do it, they're more than welcome to. And it doesn't have anything to do with this year. Like, churches have been doing that for years.
To try to throw out in the public something that happened behind the scenes. And the reason that this is so important, there is claims there that are totally fallacious that I was going to deal with privately and still intend to deal with primarily privately. So what they're trying to do is force out into the public statements that are false as though they're true. So I will tell you this so that you can at least know that what you have there is completely false. Gumroad is not a publisher. Gumroad has nothing to do with
Gumroad just host a place for sale. Like I could sell videos on Gumroad or prints or whatever, books. Gumroad just hosts a place for sale where it's kind of like almost like shutdown proof or something.
The printing of the book, zero. There were 1,100 people that did a pre-purchase on the Storm.
There are a lot of books there.
Behind the scenes, I did negotiate to try to resolve that with those business partners who have made totally fallacious claims and been involved in stuff that, for legal reasons, I don't want to say exactly so far what all is there, but it's going to come out and it'll be a big deal. So what they're trying to do is use you to do their case.
I'm not saying they're telling the truth. I'm just
telling you that you don't see me walking away, right?
No, I don't.
Okay, so I'm telling you that behind the scenes, there is way more to that story, and it'll come out. It'll be big enough when it does, and I'm very comfortable that I will not be the bad guy in what transpires. And I'm not going to...
it seems like a lot of people are getting alerts for the vertical video, right?
Give away everything up front, but you're being used to do a particular thing by those people that are inside that group. It's very sad.
I'm not being used because I don't know the people inside this
Well,
group.
you're putting it out there. If you talked to me privately, I might have told you what was going on and give you enough information.
Nino's such a openly bad grifter as well. Like him and Juan are tied or whatever, but he literally will, like, he's sitting in his house talking about all the money he just spent. One time he muted the mic or muted he had to mute the background noise while a video was playing, and he's like, sorry, the construction workers are up here renovating my upstairs bathroom. And he went to play the video again. He said, oh, by the way, that reminds me, if you guys can support me, send any amount, even 25 cents, $1, $5, any amount at all. Make sure you send it to my Cash App. Like, he's such an openly blatant grifter. Like, you don't get any worse than that. Trying to hawk his book and his mom's fucking book and everything. Nino's bad.
Decide, but you've done a hit thing to try and do a sneak attack. That's okay. That's okay. I'm not throwing stones at you, but it is a sneak attack. If you want to talk to me privately after you're done, and then I'd explain what my thoughts.
Oh, that's actually interesting, Rob.
Where my logic. I'm very disturbed about what has transpired there, but there are things outside of my control.
I got suckered into their bogus website. I had to cancel that card because I tried over and over. That is a tactic that some people do. Yeah, he calls him Juanito. Sometimes he calls him Poppy, which is really weird. That's a tactic, right? A lot of subscription companies make it incredibly easy to subscribe monthly and a lot harder to unsubscribe. Now, they're not supposed to. It's supposed to be a super easy process, but they'll blame it on, oh, it didn't go through, it didn't process, it didn't do this, didn't do that, but that's part of it. So there's a theory on how to make money online, and usually one of the best ranked ways to do that is through a subscription service, right? There's a saying that I'd rather have 1 million friends than $1 million, because if you have 1 million true close friends and tell them I need $1, most of them will probably give you $1. Some of them will probably give you 10. Maybe one of them will give you 100. Maybe one of them's very wealthy and gives you 1,000, but you end up with more than $1 million if you have 1 million friends. So that's kind of the process of subscriptions. You don't need a huge backer. Instead, you need people to subscribe for a lower rate. And if it's low enough, people kind of forget about it.
You have other humans involved, and I will address it, not the least of which is the felicity of what has just been said in that communication.
You can understand why someone would be disturbed if they were sent information like this one, especially...
I didn't argue it's upsetting. If you talk to me off the air, I told you.
Well, if I talk to you off the air, right?
You got an honest answer.
I'll read this to you because we kind of skimmed over and it was pretty fast. It says, one, it said multiple times, including again on 1/5/2023, that shortages at the publisher Gumroad. We called Gumroad and never been a delay due to the availability of paper. The book something because one has not completed writing or submitting the final version. December 10th show with Tom Numbers one said that the public began printing the Storm book in mid-January 2023. The publisher began printing in mid-2023. Sorry, one side of this is cut off. Back in mid-January 2023, and that the books at our distribution center by the end of January. The Storm shipped immediately once we received them from the publisher to have had them at the end of March 20. We were supposed to have had them at the end of March 2022. So we also something. That's the first one that he read. It says, thanks, our world president, CEO. Our news world president from info@107daily.com.
You're not the first one that has raised that. In fact, we're dealing with it behind the scenes as is right now. So I would say probably half a dozen people that I've dealt with that are other broadcasters. We had the conversation and they agreed with where we were at on it and why. And but you want to bring it.
I haven't heard a lot from Shelly. Somebody was just making fun of Shelly the other day. Shelly's a fucking psycho. The Twitch title is not updated. Okay. Somebody was just talking about something crazy that she did the other day. I think it was Dr. J. What was Shelly doing the other day, Dr. J? You remember? It was something you posted. I think you posted. Okay, it won't let me put that in there. Let's do this. It's because it refused the word tardos. Okay, now it updated.
That's fine. I'm listening. I didn't go anywhere.
Okay, so you're telling me, and I want to make it clear because I'm not accusing you. This is whistleblower content. That
Well, it's whistleblower. It's somebody's version. It's one side.
okay, it's one side.
Whistleblower is verified. Did you verify any of the information before you said it?
Well, I didn't accuse you.
All the orders that weren't arriving were stolen or destroyed. Laugh out loud. So he remailed them in brown paper.
I got
of course.
information.
Okay, you got information. Hold on a second. It's just like saying that I've been out there masquerading as somebody I'm not and didn't do anything to counter it, and I just gave you information that that's not true.
No,
you don't like the information, you don't agree with it, but you have an opinion.
People. Period. You should have apologized.
Were you guys here when Shelly thought I was a demon? She was trying to cast me out of her phone while she was on break at Buc-ee's.
I did apologize.
You don't care.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Look, you're trying to do something. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to address it the way that you see that it needs to be addressed.
Shelly now believes that under downtown Houston, there are babies for organ harvesting in Underworld. They're feeding the leftover body parts to pigs. That's why it says in the Bible not to eat pork. The fat from the pigs is being refined to gasoline in the tar sands refinery for our cars. This is one of the reasons Trumpy chants, drill, baby, drill. He doesn't want us having to use pig fat for gas that ate babies. There you go. She believes that.
And have a conversation. So you have somebody has your ear, and they want to, do what they can to slime somebody. That's fine. And I'm having a conversation. I didn't run away, did I?
You didn't run away, Juan. I will say that. So are you telling me
that was an old one. I had read it before. I
don't like anyone messing with my Patriots. I'll tell you. So you're saying that it says in this document, it says at this point, our attorneys have filed fraud and breach of contract charges against Juan, and he is responsible for any refunds due to the breach of contract. Did that happen?
We haven't received anything so far. That's part of the reason I'm waiting. I want to see what they want to show. If they want to put their hand out there and do something, that will give us something to work with. The accusations are fallacious, and we'll have fun when we get there. I'm not backing away. I'm not backing down either. I'm mad as hell.
Well, that's fine.
But not at you. But the other side of the point is when somebody makes a claim, just because there's two sides. It's like it says in Proverbs. One person makes their claim, and then the other side, when you hear it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, no, I still don't get it. I still think that honestly.
I don't expect you to get this right now because
JFK Jr.
this is going to play out over time. If you want to get hung up on the JFK Jr. thing, I want to apologize. That's fine. If you felt that you were, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Did you not make a lot of money because people think you're JFK Jr.? Did you not?
No.
Yes.
No.
That's why you made.
Yes, 100%.
Whatever, dude.
You think anybody would buy some random insurance investigator's book about being JFK Jr. on the side of the road?
I don't know what to tell you, dude. That's a fact.
Bacon does taste better with baby fat. You're right.
That's a fact, and everyone knows it in the whole movement.
Okay, well, if people, look, I've been very clear. I don't know how much clearer I can be.
Okay, well, that's the only questions I had left for you because, you haven't been right about much. You said Derek Johnson's documents are 95% right, and coming from a guy who's like, oh, Trump's going to be arrested in December. It didn't happen. I think we could go back in time and find a lot of things.
Hold on a second. I never said Trump was going to be arrested in December.
Well, that's what your whistleblowers are saying, dude.
No, that's not true.
He did say that. He said be prepared for Trump is going to be the first arrest. He said on the Nino show that Trump would be the first arrest. And I think it was going to happen back in December, sometime last year.
People have made claims like that. I said Trump was going to be arrested at some point. Was he arrested?
No, he wasn't arrested. He was brought to a court. He wasn't arrested. That's not being arrested. That's not being
arrested. He was arrested. He was arrested. He was processed. That's what it's called.
He wasn't arrested because everyone will be talking about it. That's not true. Juan, I had enough, man. I asked you.
Uh-oh. How'd we get a black screen of death there? The media playback aborted due to a corruption problem? Jesus, what the fuck? The black hats. That's why the screen went black.
This indestructible $99 drone is now
guys.
available in the U.S.
We're trying to get to the bottom of this as we speak.
Okay, this is the
There is way more to that story, and it'll come out. It'll be big enough when it does, and I'm very comfortable that I will not be the bad guy in what transpires. And I'm not going to give away everything up front.
We're further than that.
Do a particular thing.
If they were sent information like this one, especially...
I didn't know it's upsetting. If you talk me off the air, I told you.
Well, if I talked you off the air, right?
You'd have got an honest answer. Well, you're not the first one that has raised that. In fact, we're dealing with it.
Trump was technically arrested. That is true.
Behind the scenes,
when he went in to have his booking photo and stuff, that was an arrest. Right, he was released afterwards, but that was an arrest.
Right now, so I would say probably half a dozen people that I've dealt with that are other broadcasters. We had the conversation, and they agreed with where we were at on it and why. And
Bolton County.
That's fine. I'm listening. I didn't go anywhere.
Okay, so you're telling me, and I want to make it clear because I'm not accusing you. This is whistleblower content.
Well, it's whistleblower. It's somebody's version. It's one side.
Okay, it's one side.
Whistleblower is verified. Did you verify any of the information before?
And you're the other side, dude.
I said I got information.
Okay, you got information. Hold on a second. It's just like saying that I've been out there masquerading as somebody I'm not and didn't do anything to counter it, and I just gave you information that's not true. You don't like the information. You don't agree with it, but you have an opinion.
American people. Period.
Jesus Christ.
I did apologize.
You don't care.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Look, you're
It's slowly slipping into two schoolgirls yelling at each
trying to
other.
do something. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to address it the way that you see that needs to be addressed and have a conversation. So you have somebody has your ear and they want to do what they can to slime somebody. That's fine.
You're
And
good, Cat.
I didn't run away, did I?
You didn't run away, Juan. I will say that. So are you telling me, I'm going to ask you because...
Cat can
I would
do
like to know the answer
444.
personally, because I don't like anyone messing with my Patriots. I'll tell you. So you're saying that...
Oh, we're
that
past
it
that,
says
too.
in this document, it says, at this point, our...
We haven't received anything so far. That's part of the reason I'm working with. I guess when you hear it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay. Now I get it.
Yeah, no, I still don't get it.
The zoo, it is like, you've heard the thing about like how to boil a frog in water. If you throw it in a bowl of water, it'll jump out to try to save its life. But if you slowly raise the temperature, so people were worried, they were afraid, they were desperate, and they were looking for hope, and they led people in a little bit. Nobody went from normal fucking human to, oh my God, lizard people, mask, baby tunnels, organ harvesting, adrenochrome. Nobody went from like start to finish in the same day. It was little things. And sometimes I'll even admit the government doesn't do the best job of explaining things or making things not look so fishy, and they've fucked up and done fucked up things before. So it adds up a little bit at a time until you're so deep you don't even realize how you got there.
I still think that,
I
honestly...
don't expect you to get this right now.
Or at least everybody so you're not in like a different company, right? I would say probably at least 90% of my following followed somebody at one time. Scott McKay or Nino or Phil or whatever. Like most of my following came from those people. Some of them will admit to it, some of them won't, but they all followed somebody and somehow found me.
Because this is going to play out over time. If you want to get hung up on the JFK Jr. thing, I apologize. That's fine. If you felt that you were, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Did you not make a lot of money because people think you're JFK Jr.? Dude, that's a fact. That's a fact, and everyone knows it. Mahomes, it's the only...
Oh, we're still ahead of that.
No, he wasn't arrested. He was brought to... I'm sorry to the Patriot movement for making you think...
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up to where we were.
You said it because you never said I'm JFK Jr. That is a fact. But you went a long time without saying anything.
That's not true.
It is true, dude.
That's not true. I just told you the entire reason when it first was brought to my attention back in the field, I come out in person, in public.
Yeah, but that was way after. You were already very popular. You were already so big that they had a big event for you. So, I mean, they didn't have that.
I didn't have big event. I did that for free. I never took a penny for that. I did that for free. They paid other people tens and tens of thousands of dollars. I did it for free. They were in trouble because they were having a...
They also slowly convince you to question everything. Like, I understand, like, when something sounds kind of crazy or doesn't make sense or whatever, that people have a natural tendency to question what's going on. But it gets to a point to where you're not qualified to question what's going on. I know that sounds really shitty. It sounds like, but like if your heart doctor tells you that you're dying and you need emergency surgery right now or you're going to fucking die in the next 10 minutes, are you going to be like, I don't know. Who are you affiliated with? The cabal? That's why there's people that are legal experts, scientific experts. We can't, if we're going to question everything, we're never going to believe anything, right? If we're going to question everything, there's nothing to believe. There's nobody that I can't question how genuine they are, right? So eventually, this is why you don't represent yourself in court. This is why you don't perform your own brain surgery. This is why a lot of people don't work on their own cars. Eventually, we have to concede to experts because we can't be an expert at everything. But people try. They learn just enough on a topic. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you learn a minuscule amount on a topic and you convince yourself you're an expert. But once you get over that hurdle and start learning more, you realize all the shit that you don't know. It's like it's a graph that looks like this. So the Dunning-Kruger effect, when it's like graphed on like how much you think you believe. So if we made a graph on this over here, X is for expert and N is for novice, right? And this up here is what they think they know, right? This is what you think you know on a topic. And it's well documented that this happens. So this is what you think you know, and that's from novice to expert. So what happens is obviously all novices don't think I don't know anything on this topic. As soon as you spend like 1 or 2 days researching it, you think you're up here, right? Then you actually get to a place where you're like, oh shit, I don't know anything about this topic. I'm basically going to have to start over. And you go all the way here, and then over time, you build knowledge over a topic until you know that you know your shit, basically. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect on knowledge and topics.
They'd gotten canceled at one of the events. I had numerous other ones. I could have done it for money. I did it for nothing to help that particular group out when they were on the ropes. I've never taken any money for it.
Wait, I did one event for nothing to help a group out. I thought you said you've never been paid for an event. Why did you have to do it for nothing to help a group out? Wasn't it just free anyways?
I've never taken money for airfare.
I didn't say anything about taking money.
You said I've been making big money off of this as though I'm somehow out there to be a patriot, and that's not true.
Well, you're not totally honest. I mean,
That's
now
not
you
true.
are.
Hold on, you're implying something. Now you're implying that I'm
You weren't totally honest in the beginning by omission, by saying nothing. You know.
I did say something. That is my point.
On your very first show.
Were you listening that closely back in that era?
I was listening.
It's the same reason that a doctor doesn't rebuild their engine, right? A lawyer doesn't build a space shuttle. Like, people specialize in things and they spend their life doing it. And then we have people on YouTube saying, that's not, just use your common sense, folks. Do you think that this is actually going that fast? Do you think that this really happened?
Dude.
Okay. Okay.
Arguing with somebody dedicated their life to it.
If somebody says that behind the scenes, I don't feel that I have to address every troll or every statement that was out there.
Yeah, he's made his entire life.
And
everything about him has been made off pretending to be JFK Jr.
That just wasn't true.
So you're not sorry, is what you're saying.
Well, what would I be sorry for? I'm sorry if somebody felt that they were deceived, because I worked very hard not to have that.
A lot of people. People just even going back a year where we're asking, are you sure you're not JFK Jr. or in the family? There's been people asking questions like that throughout your whole career, and they wouldn't ask that question if they didn't think that it was possible. And the only way they would think it's possible is because the kid on the side of the road, this, that. You have a whole history of this. It's not like I'm the guy who came on and did a hit job on 107. This is not a hit job. This is just reality, dude. This is reality.
Okay. All right. Well, you've got it out there, and you can use it. I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. If there's anybody that's out there that feels that they were deceived or
I wonder why he took it down.
Like that, I certainly apologize. But I've also been very clear.
If you feel like this, I apologize, but I've been very clear
All the way along, and it didn't just start yesterday.
It wasn't.
They do, the zoo. They make you feel like I'm not going to. I might look at multiple opinions of the same people, like scientists or whatever, but I'm not going to argue with a robotics engineer with 40 years in the field because I can make an arm that picks up a water bottle and moves it, and they're making like an AI robot and be like, that's not possible. I know. I would know. Like, eventually, the same way with like fucking doctors or lawyers or whatever, engineers. I'm not going to argue with somebody about the loading capacity of my the beams in my house and potentially have my roof fucking cave in and kill my family because I'm like, I know a little bit about this, and they've dedicated their life to it. Now, there might be better people at that. You might get a second opinion at a doctor, or you might speak with another lawyer who's got more time in or does a different thing, or a different scientist. And sometimes it's up in the air. Scientists argue about shit. Lawyers argue about shit. Just like when we're talking about the Constitution. I love the Constitution. A lot of the stuff hasn't been proven in court with the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence or the Bill of Rights. So there's there's constitutional lawyers that believe that you enforce it exactly like it's read, and there's other people that believe it's a living, breathing document and it updates, and those people argue all the time. Now, you can pick your side, but you are not a constitutional expert on it. And you can't be like, that guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I read it, and I think.
Okay, well, again, you've got a perception. I can't change that, but I have tried to be very clear over the years, and people know that. And if there's other people that feel differently, that it's a big country, it's a free world.
I exposed who SGanon was. I don't know if anybody was around for that. Weeks or a couple days before he went on Scott McKay's thing, we did a big show and exposed who he was.
And I've said what I said. You've got it there now for everybody to listen to, and I'm sure you'll get lots of.
And his lie about trying to get in the military, and the recruiters were going to perform a surgery for him so he could get into the military, but then he backed out of the surgery. That doesn't happen, okay? Recruiters are not going to perform a life-saving surgery for you so you can join the military. Get the fuck out of here.
Traction with it, and that's fine. And there will be no further difficulty for anybody from this point forward, right?
Well, you got what you had to say out. Me and the Patriots got what we had to say out.
Okay, and I think that that's all fair, and I'm not throwing stones with you.
Well, I actually think that it was important for the movement. Actually, I think it's important for the movement, and maybe some people could start to heal.
We are going to talk about boats, I promise.
And that's a fact.
As we get through the rest of this.
The only thing I wish
it did become interesting.
Had said, like, listen, I know people thought I was JFK Jr., and I know I made money.
Hold on.
That reason.
Why did I say that I did the show with Space Shot 76 and others after that, and even with Robert David Seal? Because we worked very hard to clarify that. I wasn't interested at all And
Those are your first shows
some
ever.
level of anonymity, but I also was very clear, not JFK Jr. How much clearer can it be said than that?
They already
How much
thought you
clearer
were.
is there anything else that we should have said with Robert?
Yeah, because they already thought you were. You wouldn't have had to be.
And why did we say what we did when we did? Hold on a second. Now you're running.
There's another thing with confirmation bias. While we're talking about the subject, there's another thing with confirmation bias. I made a post over here in this in one of the groups I got on Facebook called the Debunking Crew, and somebody was talking about Phil's predictions coming true. Phil Godlewski or any just insert any truther. They were talking about Phil's predictions coming true, and someone said, "Oh, you think he has predictions that's come true?" And he said, whether they're true or not, basically his viewers make it true. And I gave an example. I was like, "Yeah, let's say he shows the controller from a PS4, and then his followers say, well, the PS4 come out in 2014." And if you add 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 4, 2014, that comes to 7. And if you take 7 and the 7 miles from the epicenter of the bridge collapse was the local municipal airport, and Phil took a video last week in an airport, he was warning us about the bridge. So when you get in a group of people that are like-minded in that type of stuff, you reinforce each other. Like when Phil did the prediction about the score of a game. He showed a Titanic model he was building in Legos, and he did it and talked about it, and his viewers saw it, and they took that video and tried to decode it and try to do this. Well, the Titanic sunk in 1912. And then there happened to be a ball game the next day, and the score ended up being 12-19. And they're like, Phil predicted the score. Like, if you can't see that that's confirmation, but like you're looking for stuff to make him some type of predictor of the future or whatever, then you need to break away from those groups. You need to break away from those groups for sure.
You're not answering my question.
Okay, go ahead.
Was I clear very early on, years ago?
Not early enough, Juan. That's why you're famous.
Oh, wait a second. When I did numerous shows and made that clear, what am I supposed to?
You're already popular because of it, and you know it.
It was not because
you
understand that I've been working in the background for 30 plus years with other hosts.
We have a camera of no explosions. C4 did it.
And that I only came out and I had numerous shows.
What, C4 the energy drink?
Long before you heard anything about JFK. Long before that. I did hundreds and hundreds of shows.
That's right, Atlantified.
I didn't have anything else. And what was the book about? It was helping to clarify some of the issues with Patriots. What, anybody that publishes a book is somehow doing a disservice to the Patriot community?
Listen, you're a smooth talker, Juan.
Hold on a second. Why is that wrong? If I'm going to explain things and try to articulate them to people. I don't think that's a fair.
Why is that part wrong?
That's not helping.
What about this part?
To then go out and what, Tucker? You know, Tucker, $100 million deal. Is Tucker bad because he's out making a living? He makes a living. He gets paid for every show he does. Does that make him not worthwhile or useful to the Patriot community?
$129 for your book. You think it's worth $129?
I don't charge $129 for my book.
But that's the stub that someone paid $129 right here.
Didn't pay it to me.
Well, it's your website, dude. I mean, this message here, it's not like I got it from Joe Schmo, right? It says your website. You know, it's like literally yours. Like I don't know if it's true, but it's not my website. It's your website saying it.
It's not my website.
107 Daily is not your website.
107 Daily has been hijacked, and I will be working to take that back.
It's been hijacked.
His website has been hijacked by the people that he works with. Got it.
Well,
hold on a second.
That's right, Atlantified.
Let's revisit this.
All right,
let's revisit this in a year. Hold on.
Right, dude.
Let's revisit this in a year, and let's see who's right and who's wrong.
Okay, in 1 year from now.
Is that fair? Yeah, let's revisit
if I was wrong about
and I'm more than glad to have the conversation.
I will apologize.
I didn't leave the air with you.
Look at me. I will apologize.
Hold on. I didn't leave the air with you. I stuck right through it with you, okay?
Okay.
So let's revisit it. I don't have to do any chest pounding. I don't have to do anything dramatic. It's not going to get played out in 5 minutes. So let's see what happens over time, and let's revisit in a year.
Well, the one thing I will not be is unfair. I do feel the way I do about the JFK thing. I think everyone in the freaking entire movement does, and I know that it probably would hurt your brand if you went deeper into that. But at the end of the day, in 1 year,
$1,000 for one of his books.
You could show me that you were totally honest, then be my guest and come back. And if I was wrong, I'll say, you know what, 107 did some good things, and you did. A lot of people didn't take the vaccine because of you. That was a good thing. We're not going to totally, I'm not here to trash you, Juan. These are accusations from, your website that you're saying was hijacked, which sounds like a load of baloney to a guy like me, okay? So that's just how it goes, man. But in 1 year, if I'm wrong and I put my foot in my mouth, I will go live with you and say, Ultra Trump the Destroyer was wrong, that Juan didn't make people think he was JFK, but it will never happen because that's what exactly happened, and that's why you're famous, or you wouldn't be. And maybe you would be famous as like some guy who's doing.
It seems like their website's down.
Something like that, but that's not why you're here now, okay? And
107daily.com is down.
Whatever, that's better than nothing. We got something, and I appreciate your time and coming on and at least fielding these questions like a man. I'll give you that. So in 1 year, I'll mark it on my calendar, and if you could come back.
It was a inside joke, legend. It was an inside joke. Every time when we were covering some of these smaller people, like Liberty Warrior and Jeff B and Travis and them, every time their computer didn't work, they were hacked. If someone signed in with a name, let's say like Liberty Warrior was live, and somebody else made a Liberty Warrior account and put something in the comments, they were hacked. if they couldn't connect to someone else on their live streaming software, StreamYard. They were hacked. StreamYard was being hacked because people were showing up by clicking the link that they shared in chat, or they shared last week and never changed the join link. They were hacked. Like, everything was them being hacked. Everything.
That can prove to me that
it was crazy.
You didn't get popular and make all this money and have a name for yourself.
Well, that wasn't the question.
It was so bad. The great hackening. That's right.
The JFK Jr. stuff, I've answered that, I think, as much as I can. If you're not satisfied, you're not.
A lot of them blamed it on me. The hater. We're not even going to say his name over there at that channel. He can't. He's so irrelevant. He's hacking us.
I understand that. I said what I said. I said what I said. You said what you said. I didn't back away, right?
Right.
Okay. And your listeners can make their own decisions. If some of them didn't hear other broadcasts or didn't hear other stuff, I'm sorry. If there was stuff that was said out there in the internet, I can't control every location, every word, but I did say it repeatedly, numerous times.
Again, this is a cop-out, right?
And made it clear, we're all kicked by the side of the road. We all grew up in the shadow of the...
If you fell for this, if you believe this, if you didn't see me denying it 318 times, if you did, I'm sorry that you believe that. That's a cop-out.
These events, we're all
100%.
We're all on the side of the road. You understand how people work in this movement. You say something like that, you know that 90% of the people are still...
By the way, I wonder where all the fucking screaming retards are at that said that Sam Bankman-Fried was never going to get sentenced and never going to go to jail, and he was part of the deep state and the inside, the baby cabal, and he donated to the Biden. So didn't he just get 25 years in prison or some shit?
Sitting there going, oh, he's JFK Jr. So give me a break, dude. You're a very smart guy, and you know exactly why you're in this movement and why people want you on their show and why people ask you over and over. Why would they ask you if it hadn't already been out into the space that people believed it, and they only believed it because
Sam Bankman-Fried?
You did. And it's just how it is, man. You can talk circles around anybody, I'm sure.
I always call him Freud, but I don't think that's
one-on-one
right.
in a conversation with an educated guy like you, but I'm telling you from the Patriots and many Patriots, okay? And I would say a very large majority of the Patriots, they listened to you because they thought that you were JFK Jr. And I wanted, and you said you were sorry for that. But I believe it was misleading, and if it wasn't, all these people wouldn't think this. And I confronted you like a man instead of just going live without you, because I feel
hell,
that if I'm gonna bring some information.
Tori Says claims that she has a Purple Heart, and she didn't even make it through initial training in the military before she was kicked out.
Someone, they deserve a chance to speak up for themselves, because I could have been really underhanded and I could take even more information than I have.
Hell, Scott McKay gives out Purple Hearts.
Go, boom. But I'm not doing that because I wanted to see how honest you would be. See, I'm always prepared 100%, dude. Like 5 million%. Let's use 5 million.
That's always funny.
Open your heart up to be like, dude, what I did, I wish I didn't do it. I realized it was messed up. I know that you didn't say you were JFK Jr. at any point ever. I know that. Everybody knows that. But the point is, that's why.
You already said it. Everybody knew that I wasn't. You just answered your own question. I appreciate the chance to talk with you. I'm glad to,
He didn't say everybody. Everybody questioned it.
Let's revisit this at a later time and we'll mince it apart. And people make their own decisions. And there you go.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on my show.
All right.
If you guys would like to screenshot these pictures, feel free. You can come back to my site and find out for yourself if they're true, because one says they're not true, his word against these other people, and that is only fair. But I said what I had to say, and for any other scammers out there that think that I don't have any information, and if I could have dropped a lot more, give me a break. It would have been ridiculous. It's not true. You're all caught.
He could make it a thing like every appearance. He could say, hey, happy to be on here. I know a lot of people think that I am a JFK Jr. I'm not. I just bring, my insights to what this is going on. He definitely played it to his benefit. No matter how many times he denied it, he didn't do it enough because there were too many people running around spreading that information. And then it got so bad that it got to the point that when he would deny it, they would say shit like, oh, he has to because the deep state's looking for him.
Game over.
Shit like that.
Goodbye.
Oh, so there you go. Juan O'Savin. Poppy. What is this one? This is another one. 107's Boots.
Oh, no, we're embarrassed.
This is the same person, Divine Interloper.
Our warehouse is...
There's somebody on Rumble called Blue Water Media or something like that that steals my shit. I don't know if you guys know that. They steal my shit all the time. How am I supposed to make this play now that I accidentally clicked the ad? It won't play at all. Okay. I just think most people... Okay, it's the same clip. Most people genuinely, like, I know, a lot of people hate Republicans, a lot of people hate Democrats, a lot of people. And there are outliers to either side that are intentionally or non-intentionally that are actually advocating for things that would destroy our country, our Constitution, our way of life on both sides. But to make either side this group of evil people is what the politicians want you to do, so you only ever vote one way. When in actuality, if you took most of the people, 90% of Americans, no matter which side they're on, Republican or Democrat, most people think what the ideas they support are the best ideas for the country to succeed and do well. Now there's 5% right and 5% left that are just fucking psychos. Those are the ones you always hear about, see news articles about, Twitter, posts about, all that shit, right? They rise to the top because they're drama. But most people think that they're making decisions for the betterment of the country, no matter what, no matter what side they're on. And you just have to know that, right? Like, most people think that the way they vote, the things that they support would make the country better. There aren't people out here saying that in that 90%, these people aren't voting for something or someone thinking this will destroy America. That's just not how it works. Most people think they're doing the right thing. All right, let's talk about boats. First of all, been a lot of uproar about the bridge, obviously. Let's watch this. So this is the tracking of the Dolly. This is the tracking of the Dolly after it left port and before it made contact with the bridge. Okay, you can see, I know the three retarded amigos tonight, the all-male Phil review show, said that the boat backed up into the bridge, that it was in reverse. Clearly it isn't. The boat's shaped like an arrow. And, of course, the arrow points to forward. The arrow points to forward, obviously. I guess, I don't know. It was parallel parking. Jesus Christ. Here we go. This is the tracking of the boat. Straight from a tracking website. You can track boats just the same way you track planes. It takes a second to get it going. It's pretty slow. I'll speed it up in just a second. By the way, boats don't go in reverse. Boats don't go in reverse. They go forward or aftward. Okay? Forward or aftward. Let me close this. I'll speed it up a little bit. So it's doing its route. You can see it doing its route. It's basically following its line. One thing you might notice is it keeps its when it gets down here to this bottom part. We're gonna speed it up some. When it gets down here to this bottom part, the speed is actually there too. So it's doing 3.1 knots right now. I know it's the screen's kind of cluttered. It's doing 3.1 knots. When it gets down to this bottom line, it'll keep its nose more north than the direction it's going. So let's say it's going this direction, right? It's going straight up and down on with my hand on the screen. It'll keep its nose this way. Why would it keep its nose in not the direction that it's going? Why would it keep the nose of the ship and not the direction it's going? They have a southerly wind that is catching them and blowing them to the south. So boats are not like cars. It's going to take a second to get a handle on. Boats are not like cars, so they have to apply pressure in this direction to go this way when they have a wind or a current or something that's pouring them in the wrong direction. 3.4 knots, 3.8 knots, 4.1 knots. Okay. See, the nose is not in line with the actual direction it's going. It's tilted a little bit towards the top of the screen. Whether that's that could be for wind, that could be for current, that could be for whatever. But it's in a road. If you see this double white line here, it's got directions on. This is a road. This is a route that all these large ships take. It's already mapped out for them. It's got depths. It's got speeds. It's got everything for them. They're doing 7 knots right now, 7.1. It even has their heading on it. So we're going to continue tracking it. It's going down. I had to learn a lot about boats just to cover this story, but we're going to go through it together. It's on course, even though its nose is pointed a little bit more north that it's going. Its ass is pointed a little more south. That's because of whatever wind it's incurring. But here we go. It's doing fine. It's in the channel it's supposed to be in. It's literally called the entrance channel. If you, I don't know if you guys can read that, but the road, basically the boat road they're on, is called the entrance channel. This says something bay channel, lighted buoy number 3. This would be like an exit ramp, right? These aren't in the water, but this is their tracking system. So this would be like an exit ramp if they're going to the Curtis Bay channel, lighted buoy number 3. That tells them where to make their turn. That gives them the area to make their turn in it. There's 2 lanes still separated by a dotted line, the same way as if you're driving down the road. All right, here we go. For some reason, they're 8.2 knots, and they seem to be getting off track just a little bit, right? They seem to be crossing this middle line. Now, that middle line would basically be like the double yellow line. They should not be crossing while driving down the road. Right? That while they're driving down the road. They're crossing completely over. They're basically headed into oncoming traffic now. Okay? They're basically headed into oncoming traffic. They're still turning. Now, if they're not under power here, they're dead in the water. They're slowing down because we were up over 8 knots. Now they're down to 7.5 in just that little short time. They did have their nose facing upwind, and they were doing fine in their lane. But if they lost power, they're being pushed the same way that we could tell the wind was coming from. When we look at them here, and their nose is more north than it should be, that tells us that something, the water, the channel, the wind, something is pushing them south. They're fighting against it. Now, when they lose power down here, start making mayday calls, they're being pushed down from that same wind, current, whatever it is. They're being pushed, and boom, they have a strike. Right? That's it. That's all it goes to. I think it jumps to 0 knots at the very end. But that's it. 1.5 knots. That's the data all the way from the bridge strike. This yellow line here is the bridge strike. Electric tower lights. I was trying to see. I thought there's somewhere on here that says the bridge name. Electric tower lights, A3. It's got all the lights, VAR. The entrance channel, lighted buoy, 1CB. It doesn't matter. There's somewhere on this map it says the thing. So, they're under power right here, and they're able to fight against the wind, right? They're able to fight against the wind. When they lose power, they almost immediately cross over the center line, and their nose is no longer facing into the wind. They're being pushed all the way down. They're being pushed right. The whole ship is being pushed down. Now, what can they do? Even though they regain power towards the end, they're basically, they're kind of screwed, right? It would be a shitty situation to be in. They're basically screwed. And here's why. It's a decision that I think nobody on a boat would want to make, whoever's in charge. So you can tell that she's being blown south, that the boat's being blown south. By the way, the bow is pointed to the northerly direction, not in the direction of travel. You can see where they lose power or whatever, and they start slipping onto the other side, the south side of that channel that they're supposed to be in. Now, it turns hard, a little bit harder than probably the wind. Do you know that ships are right-handed and left-handed? Ships are right-handed and left-handed. And when a ship is right-handed or left-handed, what that means is looking at the rear of the ship, okay, looking at the back of the ship, the direction the propeller turns, okay? The direction the propeller turns when it's going forward. So if the top of it goes to the right, like righty-tighty, that is a right-handed ship, okay? And if the top of the propeller goes to the left, that is a left-handed ship. That's gonna make a difference here in a minute. Just trust me. I don't think that the captain is going to be in a lot of trouble for this. I think the investigation is probably going to show that he tried his best, okay? It was 4 minutes long from their losing power. The whole emergency was 4 minutes long, right? Lost. It seems like he tried to make a call to drop anchor. We'll talk about dropping anchor in a second. He alerted the authorities. He made basically a mayday call. and did everything he could. Now, I think that we're going to probably find a maintenance issue with the motor, the engine. I think that's what we're going to end up finding, is a maintenance issue with the engine. Again, he's in a really, really, really bad situation. Hold on. There's a post here that I wanted to read, if I can find it. Somebody describing it. Whether it's your fault or not, the boat just struck down. You can see she's getting blown south by the way her bow is pointed more northerly than her direction of travel. You can also see where she loses power and starts very slowly slipping to the south of the channel. And when she regains power, it seems to me, throws it in reverse, which causes an aggressive turn to starboard, southerly, from the prop walk. Why would throwing it in reverse cause a turn? Well, because of the direction of the spin of the propeller and the vacuum that's created. We're going to go over that in just a second. What a nightmare to have to make that decision. Do you override every instinct and go forward, hoping to correct with steerage, and potentially have to explain why you scraped alongside without attempting to slow down? So if they would have kept their speed up, they would have been able to steer better. A boat steers with the rudder in the rear, correct? If they would have kept their power up, if they'd have kept their speed up and not dropped anchor and not went in reverse, they would have had more authority to steer. When a boat goes, when they throw all their engine power aft, not only do they stop a lot of water that's going over the rudder that gives them their steering authority, right, their ability to steer, they also create a vacuum in front of the rudder. We'll watch a video in just a second. Do you override every instinct and go forward hoping to correct the steerage and potentially...
But wait till it get home. She gonna be like, damn, shit, my God.
Those barrels like with NASCAR, Blue State problem. Happy Easter. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That was the, was that Glory Hole Warrior? Thank you very much. Out in Texas. Happy Easter. Get off your keister. Thank you very much for the donation. 2 6-packs. Texas Glory Hole. Do you override every instinct and go forward, hoping to correct with steerage and potentially have to explain why you scraped alongside without attempting to slow down? Or do you throw it in reverse, which will potentially cause a slower but direct hit? And that's all with the uncertainty if you'll even still have power in 30 seconds to continue whatever maneuver you choose. Now, someone else comments on that and says, this is the perfect description. I think the investigation will find that the captain did everything right. 4 long minutes of the emergency, dropping the anchor, calling for his tugs, alerting authorities. Imagine being on the bridge with an increasing feeling of horror as nothing works out. Watching helplessly as a ship drifts into the bridge and then the bridge collapses. The disaster had effectively occurred days, weeks, or months ago when maintenance was deferred. The disaster already occurred at least in part because of the bridge design considerations of the harbor policy, for example. Maybe there should always be tugs present near a bridge. Maybe bridge pylons, caissons should be surrounded by more protection, maybe 50 yards of rock, because I'm aware of the enormous mass of such a vessel. It's easier to armchair quarterback this. These are merely my speculations at this point. When an investigation is complete, we'll be able to walk better judgments. So we're going to learn something about boats. You have to give me just a second. Did the ship not have a horn to alert construction workers? Yes, I've been thinking about this. The horns are very loud. Everyone can recognize. Somebody said, oh, I got a sinking feeling from this post. Hold on. There's a video we're going to watch. Oh, there's a couple videos you're going to watch. The AIS track gives us some other useful info. The ship was perfectly navigated prior to power loss. It wasn't like they were under the influence. They were drunk. They were fucked up. It was perfectly navigated till they lost power. So we can see that there wasn't a lack of competence in general navigation. It appears the ship was well helmed as long as it was possible. Here we go. Didn't turn it up. That's the dispatch video. We can listen to that. That might be interesting. The police dispatch video. You guys might have already heard it. Here you go.
Into 10,000 1,000 tons of steel and concrete.
Nightmare fuel machine is the channel.
The exact moment a 900-foot out-of-control shipping vessel collided with the Francis Scott.
900 foot long is huge, right?
Collapsing it entirely in 18 seconds. In this video, we will go through the precise timeline of events in real time of everything that happened in the minutes leading up to the worst disaster of its kind in 40 years. At 1:24 a.m., Tuesday, March 26th, a 900-foot shipping vessel from Singapore by the name of Dolly was en route to cross Francis Scott Key Bridge to deliver a shipment from the port of Baltimore.
Let's get bad some.
1 minute later, vessel to change.
Yeah, the Francis Scott Key.
Everything goes eerily quiet. Everything fades into coasts out of control. It's an extremely rare event for a ship of this size to completely lose power. It's even more extraordinarily unlucky for this to happen just before crossing under a bridge. One of the action and the crew breathe a sigh of relief. Disaster averted, or so they thought. At this moment, we begin to see plumes of black smoke billowing from atop the vessel. Sources have differed on where this smoke is coming from exactly. Some,
I think that's where they got their engines fired back up.
It's the backup power generator. Others said it's a sign of an engine problem.
Could be. Well, black smoke is fuel, right?
Captain attempts to stop the vessel by backing down. The problem with backing a ship is that it's only driven by a single propeller. This creates a natural imbalance.
It does have a single screw, okay? It does have a single propeller. I looked up the, where's it at? I looked up all of the details about the ship. I don't know if I kept it open, but I'll grab it. It's 91,000. It says it's a Neo Panamax container ship with an overall length of 984 feet, a beam of 158 feet 2 inches. Different depths, like its riding depth, its molded depth, its summer draft. Those aren't important to us right now. Her container capacity was almost 10,000 containers, almost 10,000 20-foot containers. It is propelled by a single low-speed 2-stroke crosshead diesel engine coupled to a fixed-pitch propeller. Okay, the propeller's pitch never changes. Her main engine is a 9-cylinder MAN and BW 9S90ME-C9.2 unit manufactured by Hyundai Heavy Industries under licenses, is rated for 41,480 kilowatts or 55,000 horsepower at 82.5 RPM. So these engines make a ton of power and a ton of torque at super low RPMs. And that's how they ship them so efficiently on fuel. It only runs at 82.5 RPMs. Her service speed is 22 knots, 25 miles an hour. For maneuvering in ports, the Dolly has a single 4,000 horsepower bow thruster. Electricity is generated on board by two 5,150 horsepower and two 5,900 horsepower auxiliary diesel generators. That's for electricity.
And it causes the ship to start careening, veering off in one direction. Even though the ship was coming right down the middle of the channel, a second episode of sudden loss of power after the captain had already engaged the reversing propeller means the ship is now deadlocked. It is now careening uncontrollably.
So they had a second loss of power after he already went in reverse. Okay, a second loss of power after he already went in reverse is what they reported.
Towards the right side, steering the ship right into the bridge's column. Realizing what's happening, the captain drops the port side anchor, which is at the left side of the ship, in a final Hail Mary attempt to correct course and end.
He does try to drop the anchor after he loses power the second time, which isn't great.
This nightmare. Sadly, the captain's desperate attempts to save the situation in a cruel twist of fate were to no avail, as the ship headed straight towards unmitigated disaster.
All right, let's talk about right-handed and left-handed ships and why this matters. This is something I had to learn, so you're going to have to learn it too. Why does this matter, especially when ships have reverse thrust? There you go. This is from the Casual Navigation Channel.
A real thing. You might not believe me, but actually they are. Of course, we're not talking about left or right-handed in the conventional sense. What we're actually referring to is the direction in which the propeller turns. Looking at a ship from astern, you'll know that the propeller would be spinning to power the ship ahead. From this angle, if it's spinning clockwise, we say that the ship is right-handed, and if it's anti-clockwise.
So they stopped traffic, and literally a cop was just saying that he was going to go get the construction workers off the bridge when it collapsed. The next call, he says that it completely collapsed. The construction workers could have been alerted earlier. possibly by their foreman, but they were all on break and sitting in their cars, which are parked away from the actual site, like down the bridge. They were all sitting in their cars. So the cop was going to go tell the construction workers after traffic had stopped. He even said it on the radio or whatever that he was going to go tell them, and that's when the bridge collapsed.
Then she's left-handed. An easy way to remember it is to think about which way the top of the propeller is moving. If it's moving to starboard or to the right, the ship is right-handed. Obviously, with a controllable pitch propeller, it will always be spinning in the same direction, no matter if the ship is going ahead or astern.
So it does not, this ship, this is another thing I read, it has a fixed pitch. You cannot change the pitch of the propeller. If you have an adjustable pitch propeller, your propeller always turns in the same direction, right? You just change the pitch to make it reverse, okay? You just change the pitch to make reverse. What wake are you expecting to see from a ship this fucking big? Like, it's not a speedboat at the lake. I mean, what wake are you expecting to see? Anyways, it was, if you have this is a fixed pitch propeller, so it literally has to turn the propeller in the opposite direction. If it spins this way for forward, it has to spin this way for reverse. It cannot change the pitch. Do you realize how big the ship is? So when you're looking from this footage, you think you're going to see the wake of a 1,000-foot ship? This ship is over 1,000 foot long. You think you're going to see the wake from this angle? You would literally have to have a camera on the ship to see anything behind it. Anyways, they can't change the pitch, so they have to reverse their propeller.
See whether she's right or left-handed, based purely on propeller rotation. With a fixed pitch propeller, when you go astern, you need to make the propeller spin in the opposite direction.
Got to turn the opposite direction.
When you change the direction, you've not changed whether it's right or left-handed. You still reference only...
It's almost impossible even to see the rear of the ship.
Their head rotation when talking about right-handed or left-handed ships. Even though you make the propeller spin anti-clockwise to go astern, she is still right-handed.
So even though you have to spin, let's say, a right-handed ship with a fixed pitch propeller, even though you spin it left, technically left-handed, to go reverse, it doesn't matter. It's always when the ship's going forward.
So why do we even care if a ship is right or left-handed? Actually, it has a huge impact on how the ship will handle. It even has an impact on smaller boats. So like
See, I wouldn't even thought about this. Like, depending on which way the fucking propeller turns, makes a huge difference in how it handles, especially in reverse. When he reversed it, check this out.
Yacht and things like that. Even for those, it's important to know if she's right or left-handed. Unlike cars, ships don't have any brakes. If you stop the propeller spinning, she's going to continue running ahead purely under her own momentum. Of course, she will gradually slow down due to the...
I don't even know. So it would produce a wake whether it had motors or not. So you're saying the ship wasn't even moving? Like when we literally see it run into the bridge, it wasn't even moving? The bridge moved to it or what? Because even if it had no power, it was just... So the ship never moved. Is that the argument?
Resistance of the water, but that's not much good if you're approaching a berth and trying to stop in a certain position. To stop, you actually run the engine astern. This is where right or left-handedness of a vessel...
Okay, so to stop, you don't have brakes, and it takes forever to coast to a stop, right? There's not as much friction, right? You have to use the water to stop instead of like road friction. So it takes almost forever to stop, so you run the engine in reverse, right? Or you change the pitch to go full reverse, but they couldn't change their pitch on this ship, so they're running their engine in reverse.
Starts to have a real effect. A right-handed fixed pitch propeller will make a ship take a dive off to starboard when you run the engine astern. Of course,
a right-handed fixed pitch propeller, when you throw it in reverse, will make the ship go to the right. A left-handed fixed pitch propeller, when you throw it in reverse, will force the ship. There's no question about this. This is not something that I would have thought about. When he threw it in reverse, if it's a right-handed ship, it forces the ship right. If it's a left-handed ship, it forces the ship left. There's nothing you can do to change it.
So if you're expecting it, you can use that to help you get the ship to go where you want it to go.
So because captains often expect it, they use it when they're coming into port or whatever. They use that force. If it's making the ship go to the right, they're pulling up on the left, they use that.
Go. Maybe you want to kick the stern towards a berth as you're approaching or something like that. But why does this actually happen? Well, looking at the side profile of it...
And here's why it happens. This is the important part. Well, that it happens is the important part, but this is also important.
Ship, you can see she's designed to run ahead. The propeller is pushing water straight astern, applying a little...
You see the rudder. This is the only steering they have. Well, they have a bow thruster, right? But without power, it doesn't really matter. This is the only steering that they'll have at all, basically, with any authority, right? The bow thruster moves the front left or right at a limited capacity. This is the only steering they're going to have. You see the rudder right there, okay? We need, just like an airplane needs air going over the wings to use its flaps, right? The rudder has to have water going across it to steer.
Little bit of spin to it as it goes. When that same propeller runs astern, water is thrown towards the hull, still with its small amount of spin. The interaction with the hull is what causes the effect. Imagine the pressure areas around each of the propeller blades. The water ahead is experiencing higher pressure, and the water behind lower pressure. The blade is throwing the water off, so that higher pressure is rotating around in the same direction as the propeller itself. As it is thrown towards the hull, the higher pressure hits the hull first, inducing a force.
So the high pressure, when you're in reverse, instead of it going towards the rudder, it goes towards the hull of the ship. So it throws that high pressure water against the hull, and that's what causes you to turn when you put it in reverse, no matter what.
Moving the stern sideways. Likewise, the low pressure is sucking water away from the hull on the other side, exaggerating the effect. Looking from above, if there's a force applied to the stern, clearly the ship is going to start to turn under the influence of that force.
So it's a right-handed propeller in reverse is making it go right.
As long as you're expecting it, you can work with it to make your life easier when docking. So far, we've looked at the effect of a right-handed fixed-pitch propeller, but the same applies to controllable pitch propellers. It just happens in the opposite.
So even if you have a propeller that you can change the pitch of, it does the same thing, but in the opposite
direction. A right-handed controllable pitch propeller will tend to turn the ship to port when running astern. This is because the propeller always spins in the same direction, regardless of whether it's producing a head or a stern forward.
This is where you can change the pitch. This ship didn't have it, but still.
Propeller works if you want to see more. But how do we apply all this in real life? Let's take this ship as an example. I'll say she's got a fixed pitch propeller, she's right-handed, and we want to do a 3-point turn here in this river. This is exactly the same as turning around in a tight marina if you're in a small yacht. The nautical phrase for a 3-point turn is turning short round. Right hand, fixed pitch, means she's going to want to turn to starboard when you're running astern. So, as we approach, we're going to run the engine astern to take off the last of the forward motion. She's going to naturally start a slight turn to starboard at this point. Once you have her stopped, you can...
There's basically nothing you can do to prevent this. It's going to turn that way. If it's a right-handed pitch, it's going to turn to the right. If it's left-handed pitch, it's going to turn to the right. If it's not a fixed pitch, it's going to do the opposite.
You ride her hard over and give a good kick ahead on the engine.
So even when he went in reverse, first of all, the ship doesn't immediately stop. It's still going forward. Second of all, it produces almost a vacuum in front of the rudder. He loses steering authority, and it's going to force the bow in either the right or the left automatically, even though he's trying to just go backwards or stop.
Depending on the rudder, she might start to pick up speed quite quickly, but she should also be turning to starboard at the same time. All you do is you run astern again, taking off that little bit of headway, and she should continue to turn in the direction that you want. The same applies when you're approaching a berth. The same vessel approaching a quay can come in at a slight angle. As she gets close, the engines can go into astern to stop her. The right-handedness of the propeller walks the stern in towards the quay, almost making it look like the ship has docked herself. The act of walking the stern one way or the other has meant the effect is called propeller walk. You may hear a lot of...
It's called propeller walk, and that's what was in that post. Okay?
Boaters referring to propeller walk when they're boat handling. On larger ships, we tend to call it transverse thrust instead. It's just
so you got it. It's just like if this is a car crash, we have to know how the brakes work. We have to know how the engine works. We have to know the transmission works. We have to know what the friction coefficient is. Just like that. If we're going to analyze this crash and what it did, we'll watch the video here again in a second. We have to know how the boat works. Did any of you guys think that when you put a boat in reverse, it would also fucking turn without you putting any input in it? No matter where the rudder's at, no matter what you do, it's still going to turn to that direction?
Slightly more technical way of describing the same effect. So next time you're on a boat and somebody tells you that she's left-handed, you'll know that they're actually being serious. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Hopefully you found this topic interesting. For more like this every other Friday, be sure to subscribe right here.
Okay, so what about stopping the ship? And why it is kind of crazy when you're stopping a ship. Let's see, copy link address, and we'll paste it here. This guy does really good videos with animations, so that's why we're using him.
In a car, when you want to stop, you put your foot on the brake pedal. The force you apply gets amplified by a vacuum system, which moves a piston inside the brake master cylinder, in turn sending a hydraulic force to the brake pads, which apply pressure directly to the disc rotor, slowing the wheels. The system relies on friction between the brake pads and the disc rotor.
Yeah, they had to. So here's the choices they had. Not try to stop the ship at all, not even slow down, and hope there's enough water moving over the rudder to steer and not miss the bridge, and miss the bridge, even though you're fighting a wind and stuff, right? Or to try everything they could, which is what they chose, to stop, and they're going to lose their ability to steer. They know they're going to be forced in the right-hand direction. They know that they're going to lose steering authority, and they know there's a chance they may not get stopped. Plus, the engine cuts out. If the engine cuts out again, once they regain power, if the engine cuts out again, they lose the ability to stop, right? That's the only way they got to stop it, was with the engine and friction over a long time. So they really had a shitty choice. If they would have not chose to try to stop and try to steer, and they'd hit the bridge, they would have been like, why the fuck did you try to slow down? You didn't even try to slow down, right? And if they try to stop, they're like, well, why didn't you just fucking steer through? You were under power. You have your rudder, right? You didn't lose rudder authority. It's like your rudder. Why didn't you just steer through?
And friction between the tyres and the road surface. That friction turns the kinetic energy from the moving car into heat energy, increasing drag in the same way you can with friction in a car. Instead, we have a number of different techniques that we use to slow down ships. First, you can cycle the rudder. Moving the rudder between hard to port and hard to starboard increases drag. The technique relies on moving the rudder without inducing a turn.
So have you ever seen this? Well, you shouldn't see this. Some people do this. I've seen them at the boat ramp do this, where they kind of wiggle back and forth. And what they're doing is bleeding off speed, wiggling back and forth with the rudder. The rudder makes drag, right? That's also how it turns. And if you do it correctly, you're not supposed to be wiggling. But people in smaller vessels that turn quicker, when they're trying to do it, they wiggle back and forth. But in a big ship, you shouldn't even notice they're doing it. But basically, they're bleeding speed with the rudder.
When you move a rudder, it does take some time for a vessel to begin turning, so you can keep it hard over for a little while. As soon as the turn begins, though, you turn the rudder hard the other way. These relatively rapid rudder
bleeding off speed,
the term high-frequency rudder cycling. It slows the ship using only the additional drag created by the rudder itself. Developing that idea further, we move on to low-frequency rudder cycling.
You're going to find out from this video, I know some of this stuff is boring, but you have to know this to even be able to talk about the crash. This is why I hate fucking people that become experts all the time. I didn't know this shit. We actually don't even stop ships. We plan ahead to where the ship is slowed down by the time it gets to where it's going. You just watch.
The idea is you do induce a turn. You want the vessel's drift angle to increase your drag. You'll get the vessel swinging 30, 40 degrees one way before returning to your original heading, reducing the engine power the whole time. As the vessel's momentum is in this direction, the increase in angle leads to a huge increase in...
So when the ship's turned, that increases drag
rapidly
slows it down more.
Low-frequency rudder cycling can get a ship to stop within 5 or 6 ship's lengths. So, on a 300-metre ship, you could stop within a mile or so. Of course, if there are no restrictions with regards to sea room, the next development in stopping with the rudder is to simply go hard over and let it turn.
Right? If you go hard over and do a full turn, obviously you're going to bleed off all the speed that was going straight because you're heading in the opposite direction, right?
This is known as turning under full helm and is a recognised emergency stopping manoeuvre. It also relies on the increase in drag.
What caused that? That'd be an engine and maintenance issue. I don't know. They have to go back to the maintenance shit through the maintenance log. These big ships like this, commercial ships, are kind of kept up with, kind of like airplanes. Not as in depth as airplanes, but when I worked on jet engines, like you had to have airframe certification, you had to have inspection so many hours. You physically couldn't run it past an inspection. You were grounded, and it should be the same way with ships. Right? They have to have maintenance records. If you go over so many hours with the engine. There were some engines you have to pull out every so often and send them back to the manufacturer. I wouldn't imagine a ship this big, the manufacturer would come back to them, but still.
Caused by the angle between the vessel's heading and the direction of momentum. When turning under full helm, it's possible to stop within a couple of ship's lengths, albeit you will be either to port or starboard of your original track, depending on which way you turned. Of course, if you've spotted a last-minute hazard up ahead, it can be a very effective way of keeping yourself safe.
So if you spot a last-minute hazard, maybe the best thing you could do is just go around in a circle.
So, we've looked at using the rudder, but what about the engine? We've all seen it in the movies where a ship immediately orders full astern to try and stop. Again,
full astern, again, forward and astern.
This is a recognised manoeuvre. It's called a crash stop. A crash stop would probably be my last choice if I had to understand.
So a crash stop is literally the last resort to trying to... That's what they did. This is called a crash stop, when they throw everything in reverse and try to stop as quickly as possible. Now, it's not quick. It's not like slamming on the brakes in the car.
Take an emergency manoeuvre, though, simply because it leads...
No, I was a turbine specialist for General Electric. I wasn't in the Air Force.
To a complete loss of control of the vessel.
I was in the Army.
Putting the engine's full astern stops the water flow over the rudder, so you've got...
Putting the engine in full astern stops the water flow over the rudder. Why would that be a big deal? If there's not water going over the rudder, why would that be a big deal? It's the same thing if you have a front-wheel drive car and you hit a patch of ice and your wheel starts spinning in the front. It doesn't matter what the fuck you do with the wheel. You're going in the same direction you were going before, right? It doesn't matter if you turn the wheel as hard as you can to the right. If they're spinning on ice or sliding or whatever, you're not going to go to the right. If you turn it as hard as you can to the left, you're not going to go to the left. Whatever you're doing at that time is the direction you keep going. Now, in a boat, when you stop the flow over the rudder, you don't have steering authority anymore. You cannot steer anymore.
Overload simply because it leads to a complete loss of control of the vessel. Putting the engines full astern stops the water flow.
He just said it right there. A crash stop would be my last choice because it leads to a complete loss of control over the ship. Now, he's talking about huge ships, right? We're not talking about your John boat. It leads to complete loss of control. You see people on a boat ramp, they do this all the time. They run up, then they go full fucking reverse, and they fucking go sideways or whatever. But that's little boats, little mistakes. We're talking about a huge boat like this. The guy who's making this video, who knows everything about boats, is like, this would be my last choice because you lose full control of the boat. You lose all the control you had of it. Listen.
Would probably be my last choice if I had to undertake an emergency maneuver, though, simply because it leads to a complete loss of control of the vessel. Putting the engines full astern stops the water flow over the rudder, so you've got no way of steering or correcting a shear. Not only
same thing with if somehow you block the wind from airplane wings. One, you're not flying anymore. Two, you can't use the flaps. You can't go up. You can't go down. You can't slow down. You can't do nothing. If you could stop the wind, it's like a stall. I don't know if you guys know what a stall is in a plane, but that's when you when they do short takeoff and landing planes, when they do those competitions, there's a point where they try to slow down. They're trying to take off or land in the smallest area. There's a point where they get so slow, they'll have these little ribbons. I think I can show you this. It's called a tail, I think. They'll do tests on planes for stall areas when a wing stalls out, so you'll know when your wing is supposed to stall. And let's see if we can find. Hold on. Wing stall. When an airplane stalls, it is because air stopped moving over the wing in such a way that, here you go, watch this. This is a stall on an airplane wing. Because air stops moving over the wing, it literally just starts to fall out of the sky. See, these are strings on the wing, and they're all pinned straight back where the wind is coming from this side of the screen over here and going over the wing. You see the flaps at the back over here. They're all pinned straight back. What happens when a plane stalls? He's going to stall it on purpose. See, they're starting to get turbulent. He's backing out of it, slowing down the speed, slowing down the amount of air going over the wing. And in an instant, they'll all reverse directions. He's stalling the wing right there. Why are the tails going back this way when he stalls the wing? Because there's not enough air going over the wing to where he doesn't have any lift. His flaps don't work. He doesn't have any authority to go up or down with this wing. It's stalling the wing. Same thing with the rudder. There you go. See how he starts to drop as soon as that happens? Slow motion. All the strings go back the other way because we're losing the air over the wing. It's the same thing with water and a rudder, okay? When there's no water moving across the rudder, that rudder doesn't do anything. If you cavitate, which means introduce air or a vacuum in front of the rudder, you lose the ability to steer. So not only is the wind blowing you to the right, we already saw that. The wind was blowing to the right. When they put their engine in reverse, they go to the right. And when they put their engine in reverse, not only do they go to the right, they remove their steering authority. They remove their steering. They can't steer. There's no water going over the rudder.
But the propeller will have much less of an effect than you would expect. Turning a propeller in the opposite direction.
The propeller's fighting. All the water is coming this way, right? All the water is coming this way when you're going forward. And when you put the propeller in reverse, yeah, it's trying to pump water that way against all the water that's coming in the opposite direction.
To the flow of water kind of creates a vacuum. There's a lot of water coming from this direction, hitting the blades. The blades are trying to push it back, creating a flow in this direction. But in doing so, where can the water now come from? All the water on this side of the prop is moving away, so there's no water for the propeller to propel. So what else could we do with the engines instead? We could just stop them. Again, this is a recognized maneuver too. It's called an inert.
So if you just, this is called an inertia stop or whatever. This is just turning the engines off. But at least you can still steer. This is probably, I hate to like be like a Monday morning quarterback or whatever you want to call it. If they would have been able to steer better if they would have just left the engines off or tried to start them but not put them in reverse. Even when the engines came back on, if they just left them at idle or whatever speed they were at before, they'd have been able to steer better. But if they'd have still hit the bridge, they'd been like, why the fuck didn't you slow down? Why didn't you put the engines in reverse?
Inertia stop. You literally stop the engines and let the ship drift until it stops moving. As there is still water flow over the rudder, you do maintain some control. The faster the ship, the more control you have, but you're going to lose control as she...
The faster the ship is moving, again, water over the rudder, the faster the ship is moving, the more control you have.
Slows down. The other consideration is...
This is why when you're just sitting on a boat and the motor's not going, you're just sitting there in silence, let's say the motor's off, the boat drifts wherever the hell it wants. You can turn the wheel all you want. If you're sitting in the middle of the lake, you can turn the wheel any direction you want. The boat just does whatever the fucking water's doing.
You might need miles and miles of sea room. You're literally only using the drag from the hull to slow the ship. It's really not very efficient. So, on a day-to-day basis, what do ships actually do when they want to stop? We've talked about emergency maneuvers, but we don't do those every day. Instead,
here's what we actually do. We literally don't even stop boats. We literally don't even stop boats. Yeah, there's going to be, the waist's going to be so fucking small, you're not going to be able to see it in context of how big the ship is. We literally don't stop boats. I would say that the rudder steering is on. It's probably electric over hydraulic, like an electric hydraulic pump. And they have electric generators, but their main engine is what stopped. Their main engine just spins the propeller. That's it. Anyways, we literally don't even stop boats. If you've never been part of a commercial vessel, you probably don't know this. But instead of stopping boats, what we do is we plan ahead to where when they get where they're going, they're stopped. So miles and miles and miles away, we'll tell them, oh, you have to go to half throttle. And then they might come 5 more miles. You say you got to go to slow throttle. And then when they're 5 more miles, we go to dead throttle. So instead of planning on boats to stop, we don't even do that, right? We slow them down miles and miles and miles away. And that's what this map is here for. It's showing our lane, and it says you can go full ahead till you hit here. Then you go half ahead till you hit here. Then you go to slow ahead till you hit here. And then you go to dead slow ahead till you hit here. That way, by the time it gets there, we don't even stop boats, and people online are expecting this boat to stop on a fucking dime. We've already talked about bow thrusters.
What we normally do is known as a controlled speed reduction. It involves a lot more planning ahead, but the idea is you maintain full control of the vessel the whole time. Crossing an ocean, you would be travelling at full sea speed. A good few miles before manoeuvring, you would start to reduce speed, initially dropping the engine to full ahead. This would be marked on your passage plan and is part...
So I don't know these speeds on a boat, but it says full ahead, half, slow, dead slow, standby, stop. I don't know, standby is idle. I don't know. And then you have the same thing for a stern, which is reverse, right? Dead slow, slow, half full.
Part of the voyage planning process that navigators go through before every passage. As you get closer to your destination, you'll have planned points for speed reduction the whole way in.
So it's kind of silly to expect a boat to stop before it hits a bridge. Sage should know, I guess, all of this. He was in the Coast Guard. But you expect a boat to stop before it hits a bridge online. Like, why didn't they stop? Why didn't they throw out their anchor? Why didn't they put it in reverse? Why didn't they turn? But people don't even know how this boat fucking works. And we don't even stop boats usually. We just have them slow enough to where they're ready to stop by the time they get here.
The idea is that
there's one more thing I want to show you.
To reduce the power a small amount. You keep the propeller running ahead, maintaining the flow of water over the rudder, giving...
So you keep the propeller running ahead instead of putting in reverse, so you still have steering, right? So you still have steering.
You full control over the vessel the whole time. Each time you reduce power, the drag force applied by the hull through the water becomes greater than the force delivered by the propeller. The overall effect is that the vessel slows down until the force applied by the propeller matches the resistance force due to the speed.
until the engine power matches the resistance speed, and then basically you're dead in the water even though you're idling.
Through the water. A controlled speed reduction takes the overall momentum of the ship and slowly dissipates it using the resistance of the water. Our car, which we talked about at the beginning, can very quickly use friction to transform its kinetic energy into heat. A ship has to slowly use the water resistance instead, gradually slowing down over a number of miles. But what about our anchor? Well, we actually covered that recently, so check out that video.
That's the last thing we're going to watch. Well, there's 2 more videos we're going to watch. Why didn't they drop the anchor? Well, anchors surprisingly don't work well at all. And here's a video on this. The truth about anchoring huge ships. This is how I learned all this. I don't care if you're bored. You have to know about this to even talk about how the ship ran into the bridge.
The USS Missouri drops an... Do you remember the film Battleship, where the USS Missouri drops an anchor and appears to perform a handbrake turn? Well, there's a boatload of artistic license in use there, and the reality...
So basically, in that movie, they dropped a bow anchor, and they basically did like a U-ey, right? They busted a U-turn.
Anchoring large ships is somewhat different.
They did drop anchor, but it was probably useless. That's what we're going to learn here. He dropped the left-hand anchor, which is the port anchor, I guess, to try to bring the front of the ship back to the left. Because we can see in that tracking, they were going right. And even when he put it in reverse, that made it go more right, and he lost the steering authority. So he tried to drop the left-hand anchor to pull the nose back to the left and miss the bridge. But it was probably useless, and that's what this video is about.
Let's use this modern anchor as an example. It's a stockless or patent anchor and comprises the shank and the flukes. It gets its name because it doesn't have the stock that you would find on earlier anchors. This part here is the stock, which was used to keep the flukes pointing straight down into the seabed. The stockless anchor just uses a spread at the end of the flukes to stop it laying the wrong way. It lays...
All right, so it drops down and kind of folds up, and then when you start pulling on it, these like teeth things come out. They're going to get me for the satanic thing. When these teeth things come out and dig in the ground. But if you've ever been around ships, you've probably heard about sticky bottom, I guess is what they call it. And that's where an anchor actually works really well. But most places, it doesn't.
Flat, and when force is applied, the flukes bury themselves into the seabed. The seabed itself is critical to any anchoring procedure. Specifically, we're concerned about the nature of the seabed. Solid rock is pretty much useless. Apply force on an anchor resting on solid rock, and it's just going to slide along. Seaweed can have the same effect, creating a mat that the anchor just glides over. Swap the weed out for pebbles or sand, however, and the anchor has a much easier time digging in.
So pebbles of sand obviously can dig down into it.
The very best holding power, what you really want is something like soft mud. Anything that makes the bottom...
Sticky bottom would be like soft mud. That actually has some benefits, but it still takes a while to bury the anchor, get it to hold, and the whole time it's not like the anchor's like solid for some reason. That's why on smaller boats you just use a weight, right? And it's still you drag your anchor around, just the wind blowing on a small boat on the lake. Like if you have a John boat, you have a heavy ass anchor you drop, it still blows you around and drags the anchor.
Nice and sticky. Not only is the anchor itself going to dig in nicely, but the chain leading towards the anchor is going to get a good grip as well. That part is critical because
a lot of the stopping force doesn't even actually come from the anchor itself. It comes from the friction of the chain on the anchor. I would have never guessed that.
Surprisingly, with massive ships, it's not actually the anchor that holds them in place. It's the weight of the chain.
With massive ships, when we anchor a massive ship, it's not even the anchor that holds it in place. It's the weight of the chain.
The anchor is simply there to hold the end of the chain in position. It allows the chain to lay flat along the seabed before rising up to the ship. In this diagram, there's no force on the ship at all, and the anchor chain is just going straight down, running along the seabed to the anchor. We actually call it up and down, and it tells us that the ship is quite happy, not applying any weight to the anchor chain. If the wind or current starts to tug the ship backwards, the chain stretches out. As it starts to move, we get light weight, which increases through medium weight to heavy weight. These are all terms that the crew use to describe how the anchor chain looks, so that the bridge team know how much force the ship is applying to the cable. So, with the chain under heavy weight, you can see that it's stretched out at quite an angle. The anchor itself is just keeping the end of the chain in position, and the sheer weight of the chain is what's keeping the ship in position. The curve that the chain makes is called a catenary. It's a physics term that describes the curve made when a chain or a cable is suspended by its ends. As you apply more force, pulling the ends apart, the catenary becomes straighter. It's absorbing the energy that you're putting into it. As soon as
and these are all things that I guess people on a ship would know.
You stop applying the force, the chain falls back to its natural resting position. So, when the wind and the current ease, the ship stops applying
or been in the Coast Guard like Sage.
And it falls back to its natural resting position, laying straight along the seabed and vertically up to the ship. If there's a sudden sharp tug on the ship, it doesn't snatch tight on the anchor chain. The chain gently lifts a bit straighter, absorbing the energy of that sharp tug. If the catenary wasn't there and all the weight was on the anchor alone, a sharp tug would likely break it free from the seabed. This is where the length of anchor chain becomes so important. If you let out a relatively short length, the anchor...
So if you have a long length of chain and it's got a droop in it, when you get a sudden burst of movement, it just kind of stretches out the chain a little bit, and then when it relaxes back when that movement, wind, whatever, stops. But if you just had the anchor and the chain tight, as soon as you hit, the anchor would break loose.
It will bed down, but there'll be barely any scope left for absorbing any energy before the ship's applying force directly to the anchor itself.
I'm sure they hoped that it would catch and a miracle would happen, but they were probably better off not throwing the engine in reverse and trying to steer. But that would be a horrible call to make, right? Like we're losing power. It cut out once. Let's say we're gonna hit the bridge. We've got to do something. Do we stop or do we try to keep our speed and steer? One of the two, because you can't do both.
If instead you let out lots of chain, it's going to take a huge force to pull it tight before breaking the anchor free. But if it takes so much force to pull the anchor free, how can the ship ever get its anchor back? Well, when the ship isn't applying force to the chain, the windlass on the forecastle can quite easily start to heave. The ship uses its main engines to drive towards the anchor as she heaves. Eventually, she'll be in position directly above the anchor, continuing to heave on the chain. The end of the shank lifts, levering the flukes out of the seabed. The anchor is away. Now it's just a case of continuing to heave until the anchor returns home, with the shank safely inside the hawse pipe. Within the hawse pipe, there are powerful jets of water.
That's right, it's the hawse pipe.
To wash the anchor chain as it's brought home. When you see water running out of a ship near the anchor, that's all it is, just the anchor washer running. Following the anchor chain into the ship, we can see the machinery at work. The chain leads up the hawse pipe, over the windlass, down the spurling pipe and into the chain locker. Within the chain locker, it's attached to the ship at the bitter end. Now, did you notice these markings along the chain?
So they have markings that, I guess, everything weird is weird about boats. So they have markers that basically, I guess the chain's like in 90-foot sections or something like that. And this would be one 90-foot section because it has one white link on each side. If it was 2 white links, that would be 180 foot. That's out. If it was 3 white links, that'd be 270 or whatever.
Those are used to indicate the length of the anchor chain. Anchor chains are produced in lengths of 90 feet or 27.4 meters. The lengths are joined together by joining shackles. Each joining shackle is painted red, indicating the joint. Then white links are painted on either side of the joining shackle, indicating how many shackles it is from the anchor. The first will have 1 white link either side.
No, it was, I think at impact, it was in between, was it in between 3 and 2? Hold on. In between 2 and 3 or in between 1 and 2? The problem was they couldn't steer.
Then 2 white links, 3 white links, and so on. It's an easy way for officers to know how many shackles are out. In this diagram...
Oh, no, this article says it did strike at 8 knots. I thought they had it slowed down.
At the waterline. So there's 137 meters of anchor chain in the water. As we saw earlier, the more chain you have out, the better the holding power you can expect. So going back to the film we saw at the beginning, hopefully you can now imagine what would happen in reality. You can pay out the anchor chain and make
8 knots at the time of incident. It's approaching the upper speed of most tugs, certainly upper speed. Just below 8 knots. This one says 8.5 knots. I'm guessing it won't come out in the investigation, but it seems like it was around 8 knots.
It will get a grip on the seabed. The chain will...
I thought it was slower than that.
More and more energy the whole time. Then, one of 2 things will happen. Either it's going to absorb enough energy that the ship will come to a gentle stop. Or, more likely, it will absorb some energy. Then the chain will pull too tight, and the anchor will jump out to the seabed and start bouncing along. The ship would literally be dragging her anchor. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Apologies for the delay since the last one.
So there you go. The anchor portion of it. Now, the last portion of the video. He actually did a video. I didn't even see this till today. But he did a video on the actual key bridge. Like, this guy knows what he's talking about. For whatever reason, he's very well versed in this. So let's see what he has to say about the Francis Scott Key Bridge and the Dolly.
At around 1:27 in the morning of the 26th of March 2024, the Singaporean-flagged container vessel Dolly collided with the Key Bridge, which carries Route 695 across the 2.5-kilometer span of the Patapsco River in Baltimore, Maryland. The impact caused a chain reaction, leading to the bridge's complete collapse within seconds. So, what happened? How could a ship so easily collapse a bridge that stood in place for almost 50 years? Throughout the evening of the 25th of March 2024, the container vessel Dolly was alongside her berth at the southern end of the Seagrip Marine Terminal, which is a massive facility in Baltimore capable of accommodating some of the world's biggest ships. The Dolly, for example, is around 300 meters long, with a gross tonnage of just under 100,000 tons. Late in the evening, she completed the final checks for departure and was ready to get underway for her next passage towards Colombo.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I mean, you can expect to see what you want to see, but what I'm saying is if the ship's 1,000 feet, we're probably 5,000 feet away. So your argument has to be if you don't see a wake, Your argument has to be that the ship wasn't moving. The bridge was moving, I guess, then. Because they contacted each other, right? And the argument is there's no wake, then the ship wasn't moving. Because anytime it moved, whether it had power or not, there would be a wake. Even if God pushed it, there would be a wake if it's moving in the water. So what is the opposite argument of there wasn't enough wake to support this? That it was just sitting there and the bridge hit the ship?
Sri Lanka. It was a lovely evening with light winds from an east by north direction and minimal tidal flow as it was approaching low tide. Shortly after midnight, now on the 26th of March, she made fast 2 tugs, one forward and one aft, and with their assistance came bodily to port off the berth. Once she had opened to a ship's width or so from the quay, she came ahead on her engines to get some water flow over the water and prepare for the turn to port towards the main channel. As the speed picked up to 3 or 4 knots or so, the 2 tugs lay alongside her on the port side and just ran with her as she completed her turn. By 1:10, the turn was complete and Dali entered the main channel, at which point the tugs were stood down.
So that's when the tugs release. Okay, it pulled it all the way around this turn. I'm sure there's markers on that map we were looking at earlier that tell it like when you need tugs, when you need an escort, when you need whatever.
That she could continue to pick up speed. When you're working with tugs, you need to ensure you keep your speed down low because tugs are at massive risk of capsizing if you go too fast. Check out my video about tugging tugs if you want to know a little more about that. Anyway, with the tugs stood down, Dali continued following the channel outbound, lining up for the main span under the Key Bridge, which is the only place large enough for these sort of massive vessels to fit under.
So that was the only place that they could have fit under the bridge, is through that channel. I'm going to slow it down now.
She continued to increase speed, reaching around 8.7 knots by 1:26, just before the bridge. But then something went wrong. She started turning to starboard, just around the same point where the Curtis Bay Channel joins.
That's almost exactly the thing that we were just looking at. The Curtis Bay Channel. I said something else, but it must have said Curtis.
The main channel. But why? Were there some interactive effects maybe? For example, if your starboard bow is no longer subject to pressure from a bank, it could cause a turn to starboard. If that did happen though, the ship's bridge is full of professionals who are more than capable of correcting it with some engine and rudder movements. So was there something else stopping them? If, for example, the ship suffered some sort of power failure at that point, you would expect it to veer off under the effects of interaction at exactly the position where the underwater profile of the channel changes, like where another channel joins from the side. Either way, regardless of a reason for leaving the channel, at that point the crew knew there was a serious problem. The tugs that had been stood down from the earlier maneuver sprang back to life and started heading back towards the Dali at full speed. But unfortunately, it was just too late. She was now so close to the bridge and carrying so much momentum that there was nothing anyone could do. At 1:29 local time on the 26th of March, she struck the southern tower, which just didn't stand a chance against more than 100,000 tons of vessel and cargo travelling at 7.5 knots. The collapse of the southern tower led to the collapse of spans on both sides of the river, which in turn led to the collapse of further spans as the chain reaction travelled along the bridge. 15 minutes later, at 1:43, the first tug arrived on scene, but by then the damage was already done. From that point on, the priority was search and recovery. Now, clearly, I'm releasing this video within hours of the event, so
he doesn't have the details about the lost engine and stuff. That's why he didn't mention it. He was just saying, why? Was it this channel? Was it the engine? Was it this? Was it that? This was from 4 days ago.
Don't yet know how the story will end. We also don't have all the facts yet, so everything I've been through is just my interpretation of what I've seen based on the information that's been released to the public. The cause of the turn to starboard is unknown, but interaction effects could be the reason behind it if there was no way for the crew to counter them. A blackout could be a reason for the crew being unable to counter the turn, and it would explain why the tugs responded before the ship hit the bridge. That could also explain the plume of black smoke you can see in news reports, and the lack of exhaust smoke coming from the ship at the moment of impact. As I say though, at this point in time we just don't know, so I encourage you all to keep an eye out for the official report when it comes, so that we can all learn from what happened and attempt to prevent the same sort of thing happening again in the future.
I mean, this ship right here is moving, right? Let's see what it looks like. I was just looking for ships that were going. See how big a wake it's got. That ship's moving. Basically no wake, I guess. It's moving dead slow, but it's moving. That one's not moving. Look at all the tugs on that one. That one's moving like crazy. Moving through the channel. I guess somebody took a drone to the Panama Canal. Which would be cool. That one's moving, but it doesn't seem like it has much of a wake. Some of them, they're so fucking big, it's hard to even tell how if they're moving and how fast they're moving. That one, the bow's breaking pretty good on that one. It's got a tugboat to the side. I think that one's moving. That one's barely moving. That one's going along pretty good. It's got a little bit of a wake at the top. That one's moving. No wake in the front. A little bit of the back. It's hard to tell what the tugboat's doing and what the actual boat's doing. There was a clear picture where they were separated earlier, where you could see the tugboat's thrust and you could see the boat's thrust. Looked like they had some footage of this one, at least from the thumbnail. They had some footage of this one at the water level. Well, I thought, fuck. Everything about the Panama Canal is fucking crazy shit. While monster waves can't sink ships. Anyways, back to the bridge. I don't think it was an explosion. I don't think it was anything like that. People were asking why it broke the way it did. I think it broke in the joints. And we can see when we're watching that footage, we can see, okay, it broke at the joints. Now, you wouldn't put a joint over a pylon or whatever, right? You wouldn't put a joint somewhere that's already a weak point. You'd put the joints opposite of those, right? So where you have like a riser coming up out of the ground, you wouldn't put a joint there, right? That'd be a bad place for a joint. You'd actually make that the center or close to the center. And we even see some seesaw in action from the other sections. Hold on. So when we're watching this, I don't care about the audio. When we're watching this, the bridge seems to break at the joints. So every bridge has to have joints. The ground heaves, it moves, the metal heats up, it changes, the wind hits it. It has to be able to move. Bridges move actually quite a bit. So when we're watching this, we see the pressures applied for the boat, obviously. And it almost certainly starts to come down from here almost immediately. But we also get a break in between these two pylons, or whatever you want to call them. And it's right in the center of the two, right? Let's see. Can we go forward a frame at a time? So it almost certainly starts to come down almost immediately, but we get a clean break over here at what is a joint, or seems to be a joint, right? And that joint starts to break. Now, all of this suspended area where they were supposed to cross through, this big area is coming down as well. So we get a break at a joint. But now watch this section over here. We almost get a seesaw action on it. So there's another joint or something, a break there. And if you look above this bridge support, right? So all this is breaking loose. Now watch this far bridge support. Now because this is stable, there's no joint under it, and there's more weight on this side, on the right-hand side, than the left-hand side. When it starts to break, it basically just seesaws over that pylon. See all the braces and shit on it? It just starts to seesaw off of that if the video plays long enough. Right? It just starts to seesaw. So the weak point is not going to be over these. It's obviously that's where the ship hit, but it's not going to be the weakest point, and it breaks back here at a joint all the way on the far right-hand side. It basically seesaws over that. I wouldn't expect it to break right with that slow a speed of something. I wouldn't expect it to break right at the point of impact. Now, if a fucking fighter jet comes through there and hits it, I would expect it to cut it in half. But something that large and moving slowly and basically just pushing pressure on it, I would expect it to break at whatever the weakest points are, which has got to be near the joints, if not the joints. You can even see this right-hand piece is coming apart in two pieces wherever its joint is, right? But we get a seesaw action here, which is kind of what I expect. So basically what you see over here on the right-hand side is exactly what happened over here where the ship hit it. Right? That's exactly what you see, except for the drop down at first. So we don't get a break right here. Instead, we get a break over here, and then we get a break over here, and it starts to heave over into the water. I don't think there's anything weird about this video. I don't know what type of invisible explosives they claim everybody's using, but that's weird. We see that, what are those, construction lights, or is that bridge lights? All right, let's play it. The only ball of fire I see is literally why it's coming down. And I mean, that could have been one of those lights. That could have been a truck. It's a very small ball of fire right at the center of the ship when whatever falls. And we do see the big plumes of black smoke. Obviously, they were having something going on with their engine. Of course. Look, I don't really care when all experts agree, but I find so I could break my leg, okay? And I could have every doctor tell me that I broke my leg and it needs to be in a cast. But if I spend enough time looking for the right person, I'm sure I could find a certified doctor to tell me that my arm's broke, even though it's my leg. So when someone's like, oh, so-and-so had this person on and they're an expert and they said that this, but is that the consensus of experts? Or is that just one that they sought out to say the right thing? Yeah, I don't see anything that looks like any type of explosive whatsoever. It's nighttime. We would at least see a flash. I don't know any explosives that are invisible. Now, I'm sure they'll go over the maintenance record, not only of this engine, not only this ship. They'll go over the qualifications of the pilot or the captain or what the fuck ever. They'll go through everything. They'll also do the same thing for the bridge. If you don't know, America's infrastructure is not in the greatest shape and hasn't been for a while. But I'm sure they'll go over all that with the bridge. They were doing construction on it, so.
We don't know exactly why it was working hard. Potentially, the ship was put in reverse to try to slow it and get a new course. But the engine was working hard, and then we saw a blackout. All the lights on the ship went out.
So all the ship lights went out again. So clearly it failed multiple times.
Get a new course, but the engine was working hard, and then we saw a blackout. All the lights on the ship went out, and it looks like the emergency generator kicked in. The lights reemerged, but the emergency generator cannot slow the ship down. All it can do is restore the emergency fire pumps and lighting.
So the emergency generator doesn't give you any power or steering authority, anything back except for your safety equipment. There's a fire or some shit.
The ship continued to lose course, and the bow was pushed by the wind down into.
If the dude went on Nino's show, yeah, he's going on Nino's show. It can't be great.
To that column, and unfortunately it hit. We also saw there were
I mean, it's awful. It's a tragedy. I really feel bad for the construction workers just there doing their job, right? In their vehicles on a break, and next thing you know, they're at the bottom of the fucking water in their vehicles. It's horrible. Last time I read, they expected like all 6 of them were dead. At least they got the traffic stopped, I guess. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been the bridge was packed full of cars and they were stopped because of the construction, and there was no warning and no time to stop this or do that. It could have been worse. I think they'll probably end up changing. They got to come out with something. So I was in the Army. Every time that somebody fucked up something, got hurt, got injured, got arrested, got in trouble, killed somebody, they come up with a new rule. So I'm sure they'll have tons of new rules out of this. But again, that's playing catch up. It's horrible, but.
there were no tugboats around. Usually, the Port of Baltimore allows the ships to get rid of the tugs before it gets near the bridge. But the ship likely did have.
They may even change that. They may say you have to have a tug escort all the way out underneath the new bridge. That's clearly a bridge section right there. It looks like it just come apart from the roadbed or whatever. That's a bridge joint.
A pilot still on board.
So it sounds like there were a few steps taken before the generator kicked in. At what point do you make that distress call, and what can cause a ship to lose power?
Well,
it's got to be something with the engine maintenance or something, right? If they're maintained the way the aircraft are maintained and you have an engine failure, it's because, like, you fucking sucked a bird up into it or somebody lied, one of the two. Like, the way aircraft engines are maintained, you shouldn't have a failing engine. Now, you might have an issue with the fuel. You might have flame out. You might have different things like that, but they're meticulously inspected and rebuilt probably 10 times short of what their lifespan is. Let's say their lifespan's 1,500 hours. You're rebuilding them at 150 hours.
The most common cause of losing power is a crash astern. So if you get an emergency astern, I don't know that is what happens here, but when a ship comes into port, so when it's coming in from overseas, before it enters the port, it has to do a crash astern test. They make them do that because it is free.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that either. So when an overseas ship comes in, they have to do the crash astern stop, which is what we saw earlier, where they throw it in full reverse and stop as quickly as they can. So they have to do one of those tests, apparently.
Cause of a blackout. So they want to make sure that the ship does not black out when it goes full astern.
I didn't know that was a common thing. Hold on, let's look that up. Apparently, he's saying they make them do the test because it seems to be they need to check to make sure that the ship doesn't black out when you go full reverse. I wonder what would cause that. Blackout is one condition each and every mariner is familiar with and also afraid of. It is one situation. This is in 2021, so this has nothing to do with the bridge. It is one situation that everyone on the ship is terrified because it brings the whole ship to a standstill. From the bridge, the engine room, dining crew, members to sleeping ones, everyone is affected by the blackout. Then a blackout condition is your responsibility if you're in the engine room, and you should be responsible for the same. Sooner or later, the blame is going to come on you. In this article, we learn the first thing that needs to be done in case of a blackout. A blackout condition is a scenario on a ship wherein the main propulsion plant and associate machinery such as boiler, purifier, and other auxiliary stop operating due to failure. I wonder what would cause it to black out by going full astern. Apparently, it's so prevalent they make them test for it. That's something I would have never guessed. Putting it in reverse makes the fucking thing black out. Okay, here's an article on it. Safety for sea. Lessons learned, blackout causes grounding. The vessel was sailing in a river under pilotage towards the discharge port. It was being manually steered, and the weather was intermittently rainy. This is like a crash report. But visibility was good. The wind was light, and there had been a detailed pilot exchange before the pilot and the master. So a lot of times a lot of ports, this is something that I learned from, I think I was reading a book about a war and a ship crash. I can't remember. A lot of ports will force you to have a pilot crew on board. So let's say, like, you cross the whole ocean from China and you get to fucking some port in New York State, right? Because you're not familiar with that, because you transport across the sea, they'll have a pilot crew come on. Not only will you have tugs and them working together to get you where you're going, they'll have a pilot crew come on, and you just stand down as a crew. And they'll have pilot crews come on and basically drive your ship, because that's what they do every day. They just drive here. That's all they do. They know everything about it. They know all the rules. I think it was like maybe in World War I or World War II, there was like some type of refueling point. And there was like a ship that was packed full of explosives, and it ended up hitting another ship and exploding. I can't remember the story. There had been detailed pilot exchange between the pilot and the master. The pilot was given a pilot card describing maneuvering characteristics, and he checked to confirm there was an anchor watch and forward, which was a requirement. So different ports can have different requirements for you coming in. The third engineer was carrying out his rounds on the fuel treatment area when he noticed excessive differential pressure on the fuel filter. So excessive differential pressure on the fuel filter would be where the fuel pump is putting in 100 psi, and once it goes to the filter, we're getting 40 psi. So there's some type of clog or something going on in the fuel filter. That's differential pressure. It's the difference between the two, and it usually means like a clogged filter, or maybe it's sucking air or has a leak. And it says the third engineer was carrying out differential pressure on the fuel filter without consulting anyone. He decided to carry out a manual black flush after switching from one fuel filter to the other. So he's going to back flush the fuel filters to get the shit out of them. He moved the switchover lever only part of the way, which resulted in the fuel flow to the main engine and auxiliary engines being interrupted and leading to a total blackout. The chief engineer and the rest of the engine room watch acted immediately, but they were restricted by the fact that it usually takes 10 to 15 minutes to recover from a blackout. Holy shit. It takes 10 to 15 minutes to recover from a blackout. At the same time, the blackout of the vessel was altering course to port for a major turn of almost 90 degrees. There were no other vessels underway in the area. The master ordered full astern, but nothing happened due to the blackout. He realized they had no engine control. The main engine revs were failing, and there was no steering control. The vessel still had some port rudder and was moving about 10 knots. In front of the vessel, there was some smaller vessels moored at the quay, whatever the fuck that is. The pilot ordered starboard anchor and dropped it, but it had no effect. The pilot ordered the fog signal to be sounded. He also called the berthed vessels on VHF and VTS and ordered the port anchor to be dropped. Both anchors were dropped. The vessel began to slow down. Shortly afterwards, the vessel made contact with the quay at approximately 7 knots and continued alongside, hitting one of the berthed vessels before proceeding out into the river again. The vessel finally grounded on the opposite riverbed. So that was like an accident report, but the blackout wasn't caused by going full astern. It seems like if it's that big a deal that they make people do a test to make sure it doesn't black out, that's a pretty common thing. Blackout caused by grounding and collision. Loss of propulsion. Main hazard concern loss of propulsion caused by the blackout. Scope excludes. So some guy says it's because that the throttle valve, so like the thing that you control engine revs, has to be taken from so typically on the throttle valve, they'll move it kind of slowly. Basically what you're doing on the engine, because you have to change directions, instead of moving the throttle like slow, even revs, you're dropping the throttle all the way down to 0 so you can get the clutch or whatever they have to kick in so you can change the direction of the propeller. And because you're doing it so fast, it may basically cause it to choke and die, right? There's too much fuel coming in, not enough air, because the throttle valve is going to control the air, especially on a diesel engine. There's too much fuel, not enough air, and it kind of chokes it out. Or no air, I guess. Turn across the current, use kicks ahead of the rudder and find a spot, reducing the risk of propulsion loss. Estimate number of, okay, let's do this. What's it called? Full astern blackout test, right? Or crash stop test. Ship crash stop. That's what he called it, right? Consists of a stop engine astern after steady approach at the test speed until the vessel starts going in reverse. Was a crash maneuvering of ship in emergency situation. Let's do this. Blackout test blackout. Sorry, Google's my friend right now. I don't want to get too specific because it'll just bring me a bunch of the fucking articles from the bridge collapse. Oh, this even says the Dolly container ship crashed into the bridge around 1:30 a.m. and appears to have caught fire. What caused the Dolly to slam into the bridge? Out of ship, alerting pilots and crew to issues on board. The crew ran several system tests to attempt to remedy the losses. Enhanced blackout recovery test. Vessel crash stop maneuvering performance prediction. The crash stop consists in an engine stop full astern performed after a steady approach at the test speed until the vessel starts going backwards. I don't know.
It's also an older ship. These are minimally crewed ships. The ship likely has less than 25 people on board, and they're highly complicated. So any mechanical issue, electrical issue in the ship's engine room could cause a blackout.
And speaking off camera, you mentioned a bow thruster. What is that, and how could it play a role in the?
There's the bow thrusters.
Right. So on the bow of the ship, you'll see if you look at pictures, a circle with an X through it. That's a symbol meaning there's a bow thruster underneath, and the tugs don't want to press against that area. So there's a little propeller that goes sideways, and that propeller just moves the bow left and right. It's a small, much smaller engine than the main propeller, which is on the stern, and that can help if the wind pushes the bow off course, as it looks like happened now. That can push the bow back, under the bridge. Problem is those bow thrusters are recessed. So as the ship picks up speed, the bow thruster becomes.
There's also a rule, like I guess if you're passing ships. So there used to be a problem when ships saw that they were going to hit each other. It takes a lot to turn a ship, and then once you get that ship turning, you can't exactly turn the other way. So there used to be problems with ships that looked like they were going to pass each other, that are actually going to hit, and you didn't know whether to go left or right. Right? Let's say you're coming in nose to nose. Who goes left and right? Apparently, it's a rule now because they had so many incidents of people turning the same way and still hitting each other, or I guess opposite ways, which would make them hit each other. That it's always that they always turn to the right for accident avoidance. Starboard, yeah. Starboard evasion single screw ship should be equipped with right turning fixed pitch propellers or left turning counter pitch propellers. I was trying to see what would cause that, but I haven't seen it yet. He said it, and he's a captain, so Captain John.
Usually when a ship is going more than 5 knots, that bow thruster does not work properly.
Way is pronounced as key, and it's a bay as in a body of water? I had no idea. Thank you. I learned something, I guess. Key. Sounds like key. And it is a concrete, stone, or metal platform lying alongside or projecting into the water for loading and unloading ships. A wharf, a quay, a staith, or a staith with an E, is a structure on the shore or harbor or on the bank of a river or canal where ships may dock to load and unload cargo or passengers. Such structures includes one or more berths and may include piers. That's what I would have called it, probably a pier. Warehouses or other facilities. Well, I guess they get pretty big if it's got a fucking warehouse on it.
That could be another reason that they, did went full astern to slow down to restore that bow thruster. But we don't know that for sure. It's just an educated guess at this point.
And I have to ask you,
this is also 4 days ago.
What role do tugboats play in all of this?
Well, they're not there, lady. Did you see any tugboats?
Right, so a tugboat is the best thing to have when you lose engine, and they're required for close-in maneuvering. So as the ship gets, when it's coming in from overseas and it gets under the bridge and comes close to port, you have to have a pilot on board, and that pilot orders tugs based on the maneuverability and of the ship. And those tugs can push the ship sideways, it can push the heading, and it can also slow down the ship if it's going too fast. But Baltimore and the U.S. Coast Guard, captain of the port, so the Coast Guard captain of the port is in charge of all the port facilities and the military person in charge of the entire area. They do not require a tugboat under the bridge. If there was a tugboat there, a tugboat off the stern, usually you have 2, that could have slowed the ship down, and a tugboat connected near the bow could have pulled that heading away from the column. But tugboats are not required at this bridge point.
Captain Conrad, people are going to be listening to your educated opinion on all of this and what happened here. And the obvious question's got to be, why wasn't the bridge shut down if this vessel was in distress?
It was, things are happening really quickly. It seems
it was
like
shut
it
down,
was slow, but this all happened in under 5 minutes. And
I don't know the speed of this ship, but this is actually in Baltimore. This is the Baltimore Inner Harbor for Fleet Week, and this ship is coming in the harbor, and there's basically no wake. Obviously, it's got a tug attached to it. I don't know the size or the speed, but I mean, it looks like glass on it. It's from this distance. Like, clearly there is a little bit of something going on here, turbulence, but there's no way you would pick that up. Even if you backed, because you're going to back up 10 times this amount, you wouldn't be able to see that, even as it comes around the ass of the ship. They use compressed air to start engines. That's interesting. I guess it would be decoupled. That way it wouldn't be that big an issue. If you start a turbine engine, like a electric generating turbine, the way you start it is you feed electricity backwards through the generator, and it becomes a motor, and you start it. I mean, you can see this. It's obviously under power with the tug, but how far away could you see that right there? And from the front of the ship? I don't know if you'd see it at all. This is the same. This is Baltimore Harbor for Fleet Week. Big-ass ships coming in. Some type of Coast Guard recovery ship, it looks like. It's picking up a little bit of wake now. I like the one where we were down at water level, though. I wish they'd get us a lower image. You don't see that much. Usually when we look for ships, this one's producing a bigger wake than this one. Usually when we're looking at ships, for some reason everything's high, right? A drone or on top of a roof or some shit. That water level view is interesting. Hold on. Surely someone has a video. Surely someone has a video from that same camera. It'd be really hard to find right now because all the results are going to be from everything else. But surely someone has a video from that same camera, because obviously it's a security camera or some shit, of ships passing below that bridge. It'd be really hard to find in search results right now because everything's going to bring up the bridge collapse. But if that's a security camera, you think they would have... other ships passing under that bridge. Collapses, collapses, collapses. Yeah, I just want it. Collapses, collapses. I got people driving across the bridge. That doesn't really help me, though, does it? You think they, and maybe even nighttime, they would have a video of other ships in that size range passing under the bridge, and we could tell the difference, I guess. Because to me, like I said, it doesn't matter, because either the ship was moving or not, whether it's under power, whether it's under tug, whether the wind is pushing it, it would still have the same wake, short of like the turbulence produced by the props. But if we're talking about looking at the front of it, it still has the same wake where it's breaking the water. This is the moment the cargo ship loses power twice before the bridge. Loses power. Bridge collapse drone footage. All right. Video was taken up from the ship while passing underneath. What is this? Here's somebody of the video going under the key bridge. I don't think we're going to see a wake from it, but pretty cool video. I don't know. I don't like bridges anyway. Oh, there we go. We got a little bit of something. Some ripples there. It seems like the smaller boats are producing more wake than the bigger boats. I don't like bridges and shit anyways. I can't handle it. Like, they used to put so many goddamn, goddamn IEDs and shit. And culverts and bridges and shit. I still get nervous. Freak out. Hold on just a second. It's like 9 miles an hour. Its top speed or its cruising speed was 25 miles an hour. Yeah, I mean, either way, it had to be either the bridge was moving or the ship was moving, one of the two. So I guess it doesn't really matter to me what the wake was. Let's watch the footage again.
Like it was slow, but this all happened in under 5 minutes. It was, things are happening really quickly. It seems like it was slow, but this all happened.
Wait, I see a huge splash off the bow.
Things are happening really.
Whenever it gets there, you see that splash? Isn't that what that is? Hold on. I guess that's when it first hit it, though. Everything goes off to the sides. I do see some distortion there on that side.
This all happened in under 5 minutes, and
Anyways,
these ships are very minimally manned.
There you go, guys. That's why you shouldn't never listen to a Q-tard about anything about a ship. They don't understand how they don't. Who would have guessed that when you put a ship in reverse, it also fucking turns to the right? I mean, if we go back and look at the ship from, if we go back and look at the tracking from Reddit, clearly it's got some stuff going on when it starts to veer off, right? Here it is. When it starts to veer off, it had some issues going on, but they really were left with some shitty situation no matter what they did. It wasn't going to be great. It seemed like it was going to be bad no matter what. And they tried to do the best they could. They had a little option. And even when they threw it in reverse, it was going to go to the right. Right? Even when they threw it in reverse, it was going to go to the right, no matter what. Not to mention, it's already being pushed to the right. They threw it in reverse, it goes to the right. The anchor probably wasn't going to do much. They lost the ability to steer when they threw it in reverse. So there you go. Wait, we see the bridge fall on the ship. We literally see a section of the bridge fall on the ship.
Things are happening really quickly. It seems like it was slow, but this all happened in under 5.
It doesn't hit it straight with the front of the ship. It hits it from the side of the ship. So there's probably, I don't know, so many feet of the ship past the center of the bridge already. We see it fall on the ship. It doesn't go down any further. Right? It stays right there.
And
leans up against it.
There's
That's not a very good argument. It hits off to the, I guess, the right-hand side of the ship. So how much bow is already under the bridge?
Slow, but this all happened in under 5 minutes. And there's these ships are very minimally manned.
And it's still sitting there.
They're required to speak English, but how well they speak English is not always.
All right, here's the track-in video again. It does hit whatever you want to call the upright pieces, but it hits it off to the right-hand side of the ship. So the ship's shaped like this, right? And I hit right here. How much of the front of the vessel is already underneath the bridge? 8.2. I guess we could see most of the knots here as long as we decide when it hits. So that'd be the bad part. 8.5, it's still picking up speed. It's still under power. 8.7. Then it starts to drift pretty hard right here. There it goes. Nose straightens out. It never gets above 8.7. And I think the speed starts to drop. 8.2 again. 7.6. That's a dramatic drop. When we were speeding up, right, it was like 8.2, 8.5, 8.7, 8.1. Like it never made a huge jump. Then we go from 8.2 to 7.6. See, I don't even know if it hit at 8 knots. That's a 6.8, and it's still moving forward on the tracker, which I don't know how accurate these are. I don't know if they're like the airplanes ones. 6.8. Maybe that's where I got the idea that it was slower than that, but I still thought it was even slower. And then when it makes contact, the last recording they get from it, or when the video stops, is 1.5 knots. But it seems like it's saying that it's down to 6, right here? 6.8 knots. And it's still moving forward, then it goes to 1.5. Even all the way back here, 6.8. I don't know how often they update, though. 7, so 7's below 8 already. And look, I don't know what the scale is on this map. It doesn't show a scale, but it's a decent ways away from that support. You can see the support there in green. Kind of hits it off to one side. I guess that's probably not the support. That's probably maybe a safe area around it. Because that support, that green area is like 1/3 of the ship. So surely it's not that big. There you go. It doesn't seem like they had a whole lot of good choices. It doesn't seem like explosives were used. It doesn't seem like it was made to distract you from Diddy. It doesn't seem like it was made to hurt you in some way. You don't need to see a therapist and a doll about a bridge and where did it touch you. It seems like they had some really shitty choices to make. They made one. And anybody can step back and say, well, they should have, like me, I don't have anything to do with the ship. And I'm like, they should have just kept driving instead of throwing it into a stern. They should have just kept going. They would have been able to steer. Like, obviously, I don't know anything about it. But it seems like with the options they were presented, they had to make one of two, and they made one, and it didn't work out very good. So there you go. And that's how a ship works. Honestly, I had no idea that all that stuff went on with stopping a fucking ship. Like, clearly I knew it was hard. I didn't know that it was going to go, if you put the ship in reverse, it's going to go to the right. You know what I mean? I didn't know that. I didn't think about putting a ship in reverse and you lose all steering. Not only does it go to the right, you lose all steering. I didn't think about, I even said when we were talking about it in Telegram, I was like, I wonder if they try to drop anchor, thinking that it would make a difference. But it doesn't seem like, as close as they were when they drop anchor, it doesn't even seem like it was going to make that big a difference. You know what I'm saying? Either way, there you go. Don't let the Q-tards convince you that something else happened that didn't. And I guess I'll see you about the next one. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. We'll see you about the next one. Have a good night. Let's see you. Bye. Thank you for the donations. I appreciate it. Support the show while we're offline at Cobra.fund.
About if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the fork and balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the fork and balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up.
Have a good one, guys.
Seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like fool in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Opened his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. What? What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? Stop. Hold on. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. My mom's an alcoholic. Oh, give me a... Oh, my God. Damn it. Here we go. I think I started some shit. Piss them off. It's about to get lit. Get the place in the best. You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go. I think I started some shit. Piss them off. It's about to get lit. Get the place in the best. You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Round 3. Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting rocking, he was doing so well. It's all over, hands on his shoulders, they ringing his bell. You got Frog News Network doing no damn research. They rework and copy on cocks that came first. 9th inning, second string, and they acting like they know hitters. Assholes throwing bullshit, sending runs to the shitter. All this nonsense on my conscience, it's hard to sleep at night. Who the fuck is in my window with this time of the night? These parasites, these leeches, with all their secret meetings, teaching all you fucking cretins about baby eating heathens, believing in reason.